Big shout out to our sponsor here from the Hawkeye of the Storm, Brad Van Meter and his State Farm team down in Des Moines. Of course, you can give Brad a call first thing Monday morning. You'd be doing a huge favor to Brad and his team, but also this show and all your postseason coverage here around the clock from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Give Brad a call at 515-256-6480. Again, that's 515-256-6480, or visit him online, www.bradvanmeter.com. He's at 4229 Fluor Drive in Des Moines. Brad Van Meter and his State Farm team in Des Moines. We, of course, also want to thank RTI Threads. RTI Threads has been with us throughout the season as well. We're going to talk about our RTI Threads player of the game in just a moment. But, of course, this Western Iowa company is supporting so many Hawkeyes and their NIL ventures through their college careers, including the likes of Owen Freeman, Josh Dix, Peyton Sanford. Two of these guys today were monstrous in helping Iowa to achieve one of their preseason goals, and that is clinching a spot in the Big Ten tournament. We're going to talk about who our player of the game is in just a second. But again, you can support these young athletes and the NIL initiatives of the Hawkeye men's basketball team, the Hawkeye football team, and Iowa baseball, all at rtithreads.com/NIL. Click the link in our description. Without further ado, we welcome our favorite ear, our favorite personality, our favorite person, our favorite face, Gary.
Oh my! Just keep it coming, Corey.
It's March. You just shine. You just shine when it's March, Gary. So,
fun time of the year.
Good. It's a good time of the year. Good to see you, Hawkeye fans. It's felt like a while since Hawkeye fans have just been positive. Iowa basketball fans, men's basketball fans. Felt like a while since they've just felt positive. Today is a positive day. Iowa defeating Nebraska 83-68 in Lincoln. And I'll be honest, I didn't expect this result. If you had asked me my pick heading into this game, I would have said Nebraska. Maybe not with flying colors because they've struggled a lot over the latter half of the Big Ten season. But with all the energy in that building, Iowa's struggles on the road, their struggles just to win games and defend people here of late, I would not have anticipated Iowa in a win-or-go-home situation to win on the road, but they did it. Credit to Fran McCaffrey and that staff.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great win. I think your sentiment was a lot of people. Just they've had a rough patch here, and Nebraska had a lot to play for too, and senior day and the whole deal, and they won convincingly, especially in the second half. So I think the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit, as do the guys. I mean, we haven't said they've lacked effort. They just have lacked results, and it gets frustrating. But to their credit, they kept plugging away and got a great win and got a chance to play again.
A couple of years ago, Nebraska spoiled Iowa's senior day in Carver. You and I were both in the building for that one. So emotions always run high when it's your last regular season game, and you look at a guy like Juwan Gary, who's been a phenomenal Big Ten player. And you saw the emotion at the tail end of this one for Gary. I'm going to ask you, Gary, different Gary. Can you dispel the notion to some extent? Some people kind of feel like when a team, I don't say flops, but Nebraska didn't play well today. All right. I don't think we're going to deny that somehow that's a sign of bad coaching on senior day. How do your guys not show up for their final regular season game? But then you see the emotion from Juwan Gary after the game. Obviously, those guys wanted it. How do you kind of explain the struggles for Nebraska? Do you feel like that was an emotional letdown given the circumstances, or is it sometimes just not your night and you can't really point the blame at anyone?
Yeah, I think it's just not your night. It's a little different. It's a little more emotional, and a lot of times what you'll see is teams will get off to fast starts, and then they'll hit a lull and then struggled. But it's different. It's a different game. You know it's your last game, and obviously this game was even more important because the loser goes home. Basically, Nebraska might have gotten a bid to another tournament, but it's a different game. It's like a little bit like playing during finals. It's not a routine type of game. So crazy things can happen.
And this was a little bit unprecedented because we haven't had a scenario like this where you lose the last regular season game and you missed out on the Big Ten tournament. Under normal circumstances, everybody gets a shot. There's been a bit of some controversy. I know Fran has talked about it. There have been some other Big Ten coaches that have talked about it. Iowa fans that were in fear of missing out on the tournament didn't really want to hear the gripe from Fran because, hey, his team's not very good and they're borderline top 15 in the conference anyways. But I want to ask you from kind of a nonpartisan perspective, how do you feel about several teams not making it to conference play?
I don't like it. No, I don't like it. I think everybody goes through the grind. I think they should be able to find a way with all the money they're making and things like that they can get everybody in there. I'd like to know, is this the only league that doesn't have it, or is there other leagues that the teams are eliminated? I don't think so. I think this might be the only one. And you think they could figure out something to let everybody play.
I can't keep track of how many teams are in each league now. The next biggest league would be the SEC, right? And there's how many teams in the SEC?
Well, the ACC's got a bunch too. But I think the ACC, everybody's in. I think so is the SEC.
In the ACC, as far as I'm aware. We'll get back to that in a second. Yeah. You brought up the fast start for a team on senior day, and that happens sometimes. It happened tonight for Nebraska, 9-2 quick start. That crowd is buzzing. There's energy in that building. So maybe at times a team kind of goes through that lull. You've seen that before, Gary, but what did Iowa do to kind of sustain themselves in those moments? Because it can also snowball, right, and get away from you on the road.
Well, they got a big lift from their bench. Their bench was terrific. Their numbers are off the charts in terms of shooting percentage and points and rebounds and assisted turnovers. And I thought it was a difference in the game. They outscored them. I think I wrote it down. I think they outscored Nebraska's bench by 20, 34-14. So I think the bench was huge. Price, Sanford, as well as Brock and Evan all played well and gave them great minutes and gave them a boost when they came in and then kind of picked the other guys up. And I think it was a big part of their win.
We have a somewhat of a limited amount of time tonight, but I have so many questions for you, Gary. And let me start with the first, Evan Bronze, because you and I have talked about him. You were not with me for the Michigan State postgame the other night, but Bronze, here's a guy who really wasn't playing at all through the first half of the season. You tell me, and I know you're not there at practice every day. I'm sure you've seen examples of somebody like this who's given an opportunity late, not only late in the season, but late in their career due to injury, and blossoms. I would say he's blossomed. I mean, he's playing his role. He's doing what he's asked to do. He's efficient as all get out. Some people, I've heard it on social media. Why wasn't he playing earlier in the year? Do you feel like, is it surprising to you that he wasn't playing earlier in the year? Are there examples where?
Well, I think it's a valid question the way he's playing. But like you said, we weren't around for all the practice and the games prior to. I think even the staff might, as they look back on the year, guy, we probably should have played him sooner and more often. It's not an exact science, and they tried Mulvey, and for a while that looked like it might happen, and it didn't. And that's just, there's no guarantees. So you try. Some things work, some don't. He's obviously coming on very well towards the end here, and he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Those are the best stories. I mean, have a hometown kid from Iowa City, and he doesn't get an opportunity to play on scholarship at Iowa, so he leaves, has a decent enough career in a good Missouri Valley Conference and a good program in Belmont, comes back and is not playing, looks like he's just going to be buried, and hey, at least he's home. And then you don't want anybody to get hurt, but somebody does get hurt, and he comes in and fills the gap. But you got to be proud of him, because it's been observed by basically everybody on these broadcasts. He is a built guy. He's a really good athlete.
He's athletic. Mm-hmm.
very athletic, and his
Yep.
skill set. I've said before, he's not real skilled. He made a nice little shot today, underhand shot with the right hand, and he's typically more skilled, it seems like, with his left hand, at least more comfortable as he attacks the rim with his left. But it could be exciting. This could be exciting in Big Ten play. This is a team, and we're going to get to Iowa, Ohio State in just a minute, but this is a team that, as much as I did not expect them to make the Big Ten tournament as we progress through late February, here we are. They're in the field. And do I expect them to beat Ohio State? I'll just tell you, no, I don't. But they are to some extent playing with house money. Gary, I mean, a lot of fans still think that Fran is done. A lot of fans think even if he's not done, that he should be done. People still don't believe in this team defensively. So go out and prove everybody wrong, including myself. Have you had teams in similar situations where it seems like everybody's counted you out? I mean, 1999 is obviously one that would come to mind, but I don't know if this was the same type of situation. Can you relate at all to the situation they're in right now in the Big Ten tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you got a new life. It's just like it's a great feeling. You mentioned the team in '99 where we knew our last game was not only our last game of the year, but it was our last game at Iowa, and so to be able to to get hot in the tournament was really neat. But yeah, so the Big Ten the tournaments are crazy. You saw what North Carolina State did last year. Then ends up getting all the way to the Final Four. I mean, that's about as crazy it gets. But it sounds cliche, but you just let's just focus in on this game on Wednesday and see if we can't find a way to knock them out and get some momentum and play till they tell us we can't play anymore.
Do you think Fred Hoiberg is safe?
That's a good question. It certainly was a big collapse.
It was.
I don't know. That's 2 weeks ago you'd have said absolutely, but they've struggled. There's no doubt about it.
And it's a different scenario. Like Fran's team missed the tournament last year. They're likely to miss the big, almost assuredly, unless they make a massive run in the Big Ten. They're going to miss the field this year. So it's different because they had been making it every year prior. Nebraska has really struggled to make it. Right. It looked like Fred finally got them there.
Yep.
And, it just kind of collapsed the last 2 months of the
year. There's not a lot of talent. I mean, they got those two players, and that's really about it. So in some ways, I think he's done a decent job, but that's the sign of the times with a portal and transfer and things like that. It's just, it's like Michigan's got entirely brand new team. Drake has got a brand new team, and they won 30 games. So it's the way basketball is right now. So if I had to guess, I would think he'd be back, but I don't think it's a lock.
They have two really good players, Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary, but they just don't have anything after that.
No.
They just don't have anything.
They're a little up and down, and they take some unbelievable shots that just, I mean, they are.
You said unbelievable. Low. You mean like really good or just?
Woof, I mean, challenging. Let's put it that way. It's almost like I said to my son while I was watching, is that Fred was in the NBA a long time, and those guys are taking NBA shots that NBA players can make, but those guys can't on a consistent basis. And I don't know. It's just
I'll be honest.
It wasn't great.
I didn't watch Nebraska basketball much of the year. I watched more about Nebraska basketball, I think, early in the year. In the non-conference, I followed them more. I thought they looked like a tournament team at the time. But I'll tell you, Sam Hoiberg, it's never a good look. Now, I know that people view him as a good defensive player, but it's never a good look when you have a son or a daughter of a coach struggling. Yeah. It doesn't look good, right? Iowa fans know all about that, whether we're talking about Brian Ferentz or we're talking about Little Lick. we know, Gary. So I feel for Fred. But at the same time, man, I see Sam really struggled tonight.
But he wasn't the only one.
He wasn't the only one, but it shows it, like what you said, it just kind of paints the whole talent issue picture. And I like Fred a lot. I wonder if they don't retain him, what he does. Maybe that's a discussion for a different day, but I just wonder what he does, because there was a point where we didn't think he was going to come back to the college game. He basically said he didn't have interest in returning. The Lincoln job was so ideal for him and his family. He's not coming back to Ames because TJ's got a roll in here.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But I know Hawkeye fans want to talk Iowa basketball. We got a couple of callers here early. We've got Tony with us. Tony, you've been waiting all afternoon. Oh man, what is this? Fran,
my friend. Yeah, I can't find my my man Fran shirt.
Should I go get I got that collectible. What is it? Super Fran shirt. Should I get the Super?
Yeah,
Fran?
That's the one I've been trying to find on eBay since I saw you wearing that. The one I did go with though is the Dicks from the logo. Oh, sorry, man, I am.
Yeah, you got the Dicks from the logo. I got that same shirt.
Oh,
that's awesome.
That's nice.
RTI.
And then, dude, this is a completely new setup. You can completely see this behind me is just disaster. We're still moving.
Yeah, it looks like you need a little unpacking to do.
Yeah, just a little bit. And then one other lighthearted
thing. Box
might
fall down if you don't watch out.
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. One other lighthearted thing I did want to touch up on, and then get into the stuff. Coach, I saw one of your heroes this past weekend at my job. I deal cards at Prairie Meadows, and on the table next to me is a Philadelphia Eagle defensive back.
Really?
Yes. He was having. He just was acting like a normal person, so it was good to see.
I don't think it was Darius Slay.
What?
I don't think it was Darius Slay.
It was not Darius Slay. It was not Darius Slay. So,
Tony, where are you at now with this team? I want to know.
I'm in Pleasant Hill.
No. I don't care about your well-being.
So,
but I want to know what you think. You are a huge Fran guy.
Yeah.
And you have said if he doesn't make the NCAA tournament, you're okay with parting ways with him. I think that's where our comrade Doug is. We're going to have him on in a second. Do you stand by that? If they go make a run in the Big Ten tournament? Because, Gary, we're not bracketologists, but I think it's safe to say if this team doesn't win the Big Ten tournament, they're not in.
I believe
they can't make a run to Sunday and sneak into the field. They're not even close to the bubble. And this wasn't some great win. Now, this was probably a quad one win, right?
Yes.
This quad one today. Yes. So this might be their first. Was this their first quad one win?
Well, Tony? Yeah, it might be the second because Rutgers did beat Minnesota today. So they might
they're not getting in with 3 quad one wins.
No.
And well, I guess they get 4. They could get 4 or 5 if they made a run.
Your buddy, I followed that mock selection committee. Tim Kruger did that this whole weekend, and they were not even close to being mentioned. So,
were you just totally?
Oh yeah, I still watch it. Yeah,
everywhere.
I'm enamored in it.
All right.
What?
Were you?
Well, I asked him some. Go.
You wanted to ask him about Iowa, and he just laughed it off, or what?
No. They actually. Tim was very happy today because he's a Creighton fan, and he was very happy with Iowa beating Nebraska to pretty much eliminate them from both tournaments because they were talking about Nebraska as a bubble team. That's the crazy thing is Nebraska was almost being talked about, included in the field, and now they're going to miss the Big Ten tournament.
They have a better overall record and they have better wins in that record. So that's what a resume is.
Yep. And I'm with you, Coach Close. I think it's just a shame because college basketball for the longest time was the only sport where you got to the postseason and everyone was in the conference tournament. If you won your conference tournament, you could win the national title. Everyone had that chance once postseason starts. Mm-hmm. Now this year with the ACC and the Big Ten, TV money dictates it all, and they can't find a way. I'd like to think that there'll be some pushback from coaches saying, look, like we need to make 18 teams work because look how close Nebraska was. Now, Nebraska was close to being on the bubble. They lost today to Iowa, which they should have won. Now, let's say they get in the – go ahead.
Can I ask you a question, though?
Yeah.
I want to ask this question, and either way, Tony, you're a fan. Gary, you're a coach. But I want to ask this. Why do we need everybody in? Why do we need
the sport different? It's different than college football.
I accept that explanation, and if that's where you stand, I respectfully disagree. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't understand. Like, what's the point of the regular season? What's the point of the regular season?
Well, why don't you have a 12 then?
Huh?
Why don't you just have 12 teams then?
I'm fine with that. Because
but
to
then,
me,
then you would ruin March Madness.
Tony, what do we do? No, we wouldn't ruin March Madness. What do we do? in the NBA? What do we do in the NFL, the NHL, MLB? Regular season has to mean something, right?
Yep.
Like we keep talking about how the college football playoff expansion is making the regular season less important. Well, what are we doing by allowing everybody in? I know that's how college basketball has traditionally been, but as we expand leagues, I don't know. I
get. I'm not trying to. Sorry, I'm not trying to talk over you. Did I let you finish?
No,
sorry.
that's all I had to say.
Okay. No, and I'm fired up about the subject and everything. What it is the regular season does matter because then you get a better chance to advance in the conference tournament. Now, as the regular season matters, because Iowa, who had a poor regular season, we all admit that. Now they have to win 5 games in 5 days to make the tournament.
Right. So I understand there's advantages.
Yes.
See, in the playoffs, let me just real quick. In the playoffs, Tony, there are also advantages to being a high seed. You play a lower seed, get home court, home field. So I'm all for advantages, but to me, is that enough? I'm just saying all the other sports, the regular season, if you don't perform well, you don't play in postseason. So I understand where you're coming from. And I respect the opinions of somebody who says, well, we want it to be different and unique, and now it's no longer different and unique. So I guess
that's part of my argument. I guess that's part of my argument. The other part is
you say it's such a shame that Nebraska is not making it. Well,
here's why I say that is today entering the game, they were right on the bubble. So they lose a game to Iowa and they just missed the cut line. Okay. So say Nebraska, that sucks. Okay. It does. Now say Nebraska makes the Big Ten tournament this year because all teams do. Let's just say they do in the hypothetical scenario. Let's say Nebraska wins 3 games.
Yeah, they'd be in the tournament. I understand your point. Now, I get you totally.
Now, my second point to add on to why I think all teams should make the tournament. You remember NC State last year?
I don't know.
With the big kid Burns, DJ Burns, right? They had to win 5 games in 5 days in the ACC tournament to make the big dance. They were not going to make the tournament. They weren't even on anybody's bubble. They made the tournament. And where'd they go? Elite 8 last year? Was that right, Coach? Final four. Yeah. I mean, without that, I knew they made it decently, and they were everyone loved them, and DJ Burns.
I was only 9 games away from the Final Four.
Yeah.
I don't want to have everybody gang up on me for this.
Oh no, I'm not trying to. I'm just sharing my opinion. That. Yeah,
there'll be people that just go on.
You don't like participation trophies either, do you?
I don't. I really don't. I really don't. But hey, I will say this: I am happy for Iowa, Tony, and I don't think it changes.
Aren't you happy for the seniors? They get a chance to play a little more basketball.
Absolutely. Because if they had lost today, it'd have been all over. They weren't going to
They're hanging in the uniforms
tomorrow. And they weren't I think this actually improves their chance of the crown as well.
So did they have to beat Ohio State, in your opinion, to make the crown tournament, which is basically
that would make it a really solid chance for them getting in the crown. I think just by playing Ohio State even close might help as well, because the crown's based a lot off net.
Yeah.
From what my understanding, it's the top. A lot of it depends on which teams. It's almost like a catch-22, because if you beat Ohio State but lose the next game and Ohio State doesn't get in, they're one of the auto qualifiers for the crown because they're one of the highest net ranked teams, as well as Nebraska, who didn't make the tournament. But if you play Ohio State respectively and they get in the tournament, now you might be in the crown. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say you're playing for the crown. You obviously want to play to win the game. I'd rather them win a couple games and be comfortable in the crown and send Peyton and Drew and all them off.
Here's how this can go. Gary, you know this. If Iowa, this is a big what if hypothetical. If Iowa goes and wins a couple of games, people are going to start talking about, can they win this whole tournament and get to March Madness? That's just how it is. People are going to, it only takes a couple of wins, because if they win these 2 games, Ohio State, they thrashed the Hawks earlier this year. Illinois, that is not a game anybody expects Iowa to win. So if they get past those 2 teams on neutral courts, because let's be honest, besides the one year where Iowa won the Big Ten tournament under Fran, they either lose in the first round or lose in the next round. So, or I shouldn't say first game, or lose in the second game. They don't win 2 games. I believe the only time they've won 2 games is when they won the whole thing, right, Tony?
Did they win 2 games? What was it the year what about Connor's year when it was the COVID year? How many did they win? That Illinois? They only won what?
What COVID year? You're talking about
the year where the tournament got canceled.
They won one game and then lost to Illinois in the semis.
Yeah, okay. Because they were a high enough seed.
They had
I know they advanced the semis. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, that was one, but they had one win.
But they had
credit to them for getting there. They earned that.
Yeah, they earned it through the regular season. They had that. Yeah.
So
it's and I don't think it's tough to put Coach Close in that spot when you asked him the question about. You asked him the question about, does this compare to the 1999 year where we had our last Sweet 16? I don't think anyone knows publicly. It was very public. I know you were. How old were you in '99, Corey?
Well, you weren't.
Probably.
I was about 3 or 4 years old. I'd have been 3.
You remember that run?
Yeah, I remember it. I had my pinky in my left hand and my remote control in my right, Gary.
Who knocked us out?
Was it Kentucky or Duke?
I'm disappointed.
Sorry.
Well, Tony, you ought to know.
I thought it was one of the Blue Bloods, Kentucky or Duke.
It was a blue blood.
Okay, then it wasn't Kentucky or Duke.
Doug, who was it?
UConn.
All right, we had him in for a second for that one. UConn, Doug. Hey, you're drinking, Tony.
We're on to win the national championship that year.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. They did, and it just. I think what I was trying to get at with that is it was very publicly known. That's why I was asking how old you were, because Coach, it was known that before the year that was it.
Yeah, I know. I knew that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not apples to apples, but if there's a sense that there is a sense for the seniors, because this is all there is regardless, right? For Peyton, that's the way it is every year with seniors. So this is their last ride. But if the clock is ticking on the staff as well, I don't know if it is or if it's not. I'm not saying it. I have an opinion that whether it is or it's not. But I just think that, play with house money. Go out there and let her roll. I don't think they have the talent to beat the two teams in front of them. I really don't. Not back to back. I think they beat either one of them. By the way, Ohio State's a team have they lost to them 2 years in a row in the first game?
Someone I read an article about that. Now I was just going to tell you, I'll say something about that, and I can go back in the queue and wait because I know a lot of people want to talk to Coach Close. The last 2 years, Iowa lost to Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. Iowa was the higher seed. This year, it's Iowa's turn to flip the script and be the lower seed to beat Ohio State. So, hey, I just wanted to say hi and say that story. I'll go back to Coach Close to let him talk to other people. I had a few other things to say, and I know you got limited time, Coach, so I can wait.
Let's clean that room up a little bit for next time.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Thanks, Tony. All right. Matt Bay in the chat says, I legit thought the season was over today. Glad the team proved me wrong. And
I don't think he was the only one.
Tony, are you still hearing an echo?
No, it's gotten better as the show got on. You're good. It cleaned up. I think, those mics auto adjust. I think your mic auto adjusted.
Okay. All right. I'm going to boot him back out again.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. All right. Tony, thank you for being a member. I thought you already were a member. Maybe Tony, did it?
My credit card, it expired and I forgot to update it. So I updated it. I know. I'm
nice. I wouldn't have come back on to say that.
Keep bringing him back just to shame him. All right, we'll bring you back, Tony. Thank you for being here. All right, Bill says, I'll answer this question because I don't think it's real fair to be talking about it off of a win. But he says, what percentage chance do you think Fran being gone? I think I've said it before. I'll stand by it. I think this is his last year here. Now, barring some unbelievable, if they go win the Big Ten tournament and make a run to the second weekend, Gary, that changes my opinion. But barring a drastic change, I do think that will be the case. I know he has stated publicly in recent days that he has no intention of leaving, which doesn't necessarily surprise me that he would say that. But we'll see. We got more basketball in front, and fans should be happy about that. Eric brings up the NIT. Yes, it's the new Crown tournament. So it's this new contracted tournament with, is it the Big Ten and a couple other conferences? So basically, this is the whole television network thing splitting off from the SEC that owns ESPN. The Big Ten owns the Fox networks. And so it's this new tournament in Vegas, but it's a de facto NIT. There still is an NIT. It's just, again, the automatic bids. And you can read all about I read about this, and it's just going to be different, new. So it'll be interesting. I do think Iowa needs to win at least a game to get to.
I think so too.
So, Okay. Brock, thank you for reminding everybody. Hit the like button if you're here, and hit the like button for the Hawks making the tournament, the Big Ten tournament. RTI Threads player of the game today. We could have went a lot of different directions here, but here's a guy I don't know that we have named player of the game before, Gary, at least not this year. Bryce Sanford went 5 for 9 today, made 4 threes on 6 attempts, but the 11 rebounds were huge because Iowa competed well on the glass. They don't dominate teams on the glass, but if they can split even, break even, or even win by a little bit, that gives them a great chance to win on the road. Also had 3 assists. He has been a little bit up and down, but when their bench has been good, obviously the team has been good. And the rebounding has been a struggle all year. To get 11 out of Price is big. And, with Peyton graduating and moving on, assuming the roster stays together to some extent and Price returns, they're going to need more performances like this out of him to make up for what they're losing in Peyton.
No doubt. Yep. Good time for him to step up. He's come on of late. He had a terrific game. I think that's a good choice for player of the game.
If you were to kind of describe the difference between he and Peyton, how would you sum that up? It seems like he's a better driver of the basketball.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, he's maybe a little more versatile. Although Peyton did a nice job around the basket today. Yeah, that's one of his better games around the hoop. I think he only missed 2 shots from 2. So he did a better job. But yeah, I think he's a little more, maybe a hair more versatile offensively.
We're talking about Iowa's 83-68 win in Lincoln over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Let's go to our next caller. We have got Randy here with us. Randy.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi,
Good.
Randy.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. So I watched Drake this afternoon turn around and win their game, and they did it in dominant fashion.
Hey, man, how are you?
So they win the Missouri Valley then? Is that
Yeah.
They won
30.
Yeah. They got their 30th win today.
I bid they won the tournament today. Is that the deal? I haven't followed their conference tournament at all. I knew they were playing, but
Yeah, they won the conference tournament.
he's gonna be a coaching candidate to watch, Gary, for not just Iowa. I'm just saying for teams across the country. Him to come in
I
here.
would say so. I mean, that's a totally new roster, and they won 30 games. Won the league fairly easily, and won the tournament fairly easily.
They're going to be a dangerous team in March Madness.
Could be. They're very slow tempo, which can, in a one and done game can wear on people. So be interesting to see.
So I wanted to thank you, Gary, for all the time with Tom Davis and coaching Iowa teams. I grew up following Iowa basketball probably closer than I did football when I was younger. And I remember coming to Vets Auditorium to watch you guys play a preseason game and being able to go around to the players and get autographs and sneaking behind the line and getting to Roy Marble.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those teams that you coached were absolutely fun to watch.
Yeah, it was a good group. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's something that I wish they could still do, is travel to the because I've got family who remembers your teams, Gary, Dr. Tom's teams, going to Marshalltown. Right? You guys went to the Roundhouse and played there.
Yeah, we did community scrimmages, they were called. Kind of got out on the road and obviously met with the fans. They were hugely popular. I mean, really popular. And actually, a funny story. My wife was a cheerleader at Marshalltown High School when we were in there playing a community scrimmage a long time ago.
Anyway, I'm not going to. You and I have talked about this off the air a little bit, but anyways, yeah.
Yep. So they were a lot of fun. We went everywhere. I mean, they did that. And I don't even know if the seniors used to do it after the season. They'd go around and play. They call them the senior games, and they were very popular as well. So, and then we all remember. I don't know if a lot of fans will remember. They used to play the shirts and skins games before the football games.
Oh yeah.
Those babies were nearly sold out or sold out. quite a tradition. I remember the first time I witnessed that. We couldn't watch the game. We walked in, and as soon as it started, we had to leave. But to see that crowd, and it was obviously a very, very advantageous thing as far as for recruits to see. It was a lot of fun. It's a great tradition.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things that Fran has lacked is getting into the community and turn around and making connections with fans. There hasn't been a whole lot of that whatsoever, whether it's like the women's team turn around and goes to Fry Fest and greets all the people at Fry Fest and signs autographs. There's none of that with the men's team. There's not really any interaction. I feel so disconnected from Iowa basketball. It's not even funny compared to what I felt growing up. I've kind of gravitated more toward wrestling lately, and that's primarily because of what I do with NIL and athletes and stuff. But
well, Randy, I'll say this: your expressions are, I think that resonates with a lot of Iowa fans, and that's you've heard me talk about my stance on Fran and my frustrations. It's not just about not making the second weekend. And I know it's not all about the coaching staff. Some issues with the arena that needs fixed, but it's also been proven that you can win in that arena, and you can get fans to show up in that arena. And I think outreach is a problem. And regardless of who the coach is next year, I think that's one thing I would say. Not that Beth gives a rip what I have to say, Randy, but
Who doesn't?
Thank you. But if I was to say one thing that to Beth, hey, look, retain him or don't retain him, but you got to get him out there. Like, you got to make it clear. You got to be involved. You got to make yourself available more. Not that Fran doesn't do things behind the scenes. I know he does. He's a great guy, cares about the community, cares about cancer research. I know his son's mental health was a big story, and I'm sure he's very concerned about the mental health of young individuals. But some of the outreach I'm talking about, maybe you can't replicate what Dr. Tom and Gary Close and that staff did back in the 80s and 90s, but is there a way to make yourself a little more warm and fuzzy? I guess that's my big thing. Just make yourself a little bit more appealing, and that could probably involve eating a big old slice of humble pie, because there are gonna be people that just are. If he gets retained, Gary, they're gonna be mad. They're mad anyways. They were mad at people. It's like every staff. There's people want Greg Gard gone. They've wanted him gone for years. That's the nature of the game. You got to swallow a piece of humble pie and say, look, I've got to do better in this area. And that's what I want to see from Fran if he comes back, Randy. I don't think he is, but if that happens, that's what I want to see. And I think it could help. And it would help, I think, the cause. It's kind of how I feel about Kirk's final years. Like, I just wanted Kirk to embrace something different with the offense, even if it was just in the last year or two, because it would put a better taste in my mouth for the final years of a great tenure. And Fran could go down as a great head coach at Iowa. And if he gets relieved of his duties in a week, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's going to be one of the greats, longevity wise, wins wise, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys catch my drift, but that's kind of where I stand on Fran. So
remember that phrase when the marketing campaign when he started out was, "Let's get mad again."
I don't remember.
It's like now it's like I just want to get to where I care again.
Yeah. Well, and here's the deal with Fran not getting as angsty and upset as he used to. If it's a health issue, or if it's what happened with his kids, I understand. But it's a further source of contention from the fans because they don't understand it. And when you're not winning, and then they see a guy with his hands in his pockets who used to be fiery and now he's not, and they don't have an explanation. You see what I'm saying, Gary? You can relate to the fans wondering what the heck is going on here. And so that's why I say, if make yourself warm. If you can't be the fiery FranCon guy that you were earlier in your career, can you translate to a different Fran? Can you revolutionize yourself a little bit? I know it's hard to do when you're in your 60s, right, Gary?
Absolutely.
Wait, are you in your 60s yet, Gary?
Oh, well into my 60s. Approaching 70.
Randy, anything else?
No, that's it. Go Hawks.
Thanks for the call, Randy.
Hawks. Thanks, Randy. All right. Rick in the chat says, I'm okay with a change. Fran has done good. It's just time for a change, a higher finish in the Big Ten. And JSC Hawk says, Izzo spoke the truth on resources at Iowa. Like he said, everyone pays players. I have mixed feelings about Tom Izzo's comments after the last game as well. Did you hear what he had to say, Gary?
Yeah, basically I did. Yeah.
Do you agree with him? Do you
be careful what you wish for? I think something like that.
Yeah. I think it's easy to say that as a friend, a personal friend of Fran McCaffrey's after you just came in and beat him. Also, you're a legend. You have you don't have to worry about anything really. He does nothing to worry about his legacy. He can just say something about somebody he has a lot of respect for. It's not an objective opinion. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Let's have our next call.
I think it's a guy that's,
well,
knows what they're going through.
And patronizing to me. But
I think he was patronizing. I think he's being genuine. I think he really likes Fran. He's got a lot of respect for him. I get it, but I'm just saying, what reason would he have to go out there and say when that? I don't even know who the reporter.
Help a friend out.
If the reporter asked, what was the question? Do you remember, Doug, what the question was? I don't even remember what the question. But if the question was like, a lot of fans want Fran gone, Coach. How do you feel that? What would be your message to the fans? Can you imagine if he got up there and said, "Well, I get it. I think Franny should be gone too." Like, come on. He's not going to say that. So let's not make this big deal out of the fact that he said it's hard to win there. They don't have the resources. Careful what you wish for. He's also a competing institution, competing program.
Those are all true.
Do you know who the losingest Big Ten team outside of Northwestern was in the 80s? They didn't have a winning record from 1974 to 1997 in the Big Ten. You know what team I'm talking about? The Wisconsin Badgers.
Oh, my goodness.
Went 40 years in between NCAA tournaments. So, and there wasn't much of Michigan in the late 80s and early 90s. Judd Heath coach, so Iowa can win in basketball. Don't give me this crap. Iowa went to the NCAA tournament 16 out of 20 years from 1979 to 1999. Probably had a better record outside, if you take away the national championship in 79, Iowa probably had a better record from 1980 to 1998 in basketball than Michigan State. So don't give me this crap that we can't win here. And you don't have to talk down to us and say our program, we can win basketball. I mean,
you actually took offense to what Tom Izzo.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't read it that way.
Well, again, I take stuff personal, and as you see sometimes in the live chat, no, we can win basketball games in Iowa. We're not poor country bumpkins. East Lansing, Michigan isn't this atropic greatest place ever. The Breslin Center isn't the greatest. I mean, trust me.
I just bring up the success Iowa State's had of late, and I know our guy Tony, who I'm going to talk to later. Tony will just tell me how they got that one big donor, and that makes all the difference. But come on, I mean, they got all the talent in the world. I know they've been struggling here a little bit of late. They play in a great conference, by the way. But
I'm also taking offense of the Bobcat talk. Ames high, aims high. So again.
I don't think there was any big. Was there ever a big rivalry?
Marshalltown? No,
there was no Highway 30 rivalry there. So,
there is with me still. They knocked me out my senior year in basketball. So, Michael Bell, if anyone knows who that is, was their good player. So,
Doug, did you enjoy playing in the Roundhouse? Roundhouse was
I played a JV game in there where there was 12 people. That was our attendance. 12 people.
Your parents and your grandparents.
Yeah, it was about that. I think I had 7 fouls in the game because we only had 6 players, and we didn't do a Norman Hoosier thing. God rest his peace, Gene Hackman. Great movie. Hoosiers is awesome. But, yeah. Well, the other thing I was going to say is I also dislike Jake Voskuhl from that UConn team. I still don't like that guy. You remember Jake Voskuhl, right?
Oh, yeah.
The 6'10" Vanilla Ice wannabe from UConn. I was happy that I was hoping Jake Jakes would throw him to the ground or something, but not to hurt him, just to,
just to rough him up a little bit, right?
Yeah, let's rough him up a little bit. Another hot take I have, as I'm getting worked up, no senior nights. I think it should be left to the banquet. It just seems like if you lose, you can't have it before or after. I don't think it's the time to – I think you need to focus on the game, and I just am not a senior night person. I've seen too many upsets, both us on Thursday night and Nebraska, and I just would rather have them just get honored at the banquet and forget about senior night. That's just me. Because
the fans like to do it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for the fans too.
Yeah.
By the way, what's this about the NC State coach getting fired? Is this the same guy that took him to the Final Four last year? Why is he getting
He would have gotten fired last year if he hadn't done it.
Yeah, but he took him to the Final Four. What is he supposed to do? Were they horrible this year?
Yep.
It happens. I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, well, I don't. What are the expectations around the country for Power Four institutions? You go to the Final Four, and the next year you're canned.
I don't make the rules for NC State. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
people that are defending Fran.
Well, I'm guessing they wanted to get rid of him last year, and they couldn't. So they're just waiting for him to screw up so they can get rid of him.
But going to the Final Four doesn't change how you feel?
Not if they want to get rid of him in the first place. No, I don't. Obviously not.
Well, no. I don't know if it would make that much difference with Fran. Fran, that's actually a good transition. Are you extending Fran's? What does it take to – we're now going to enter lame duck territory if we keep Fran. That was my fear. Not that the program can't go forward.
I think they could go one more year without extending him. I think they could go one more year without it. So I think if they were to make the tournament, like if they won the conference tournament and made the tournament, I think it would be a very interesting situation.
I mean, at some point, Fran is not the coach at Iowa. What is best for the program is when you do let him – the transition is a very important transition. I've mentioned this transition before because there's always a troll from the Cyclones here. 1994, Johnny Orr had one more year in his contract. He chose to step down and let someone else coach Fred Hoiberg and Lauren Meyer and Julius Meekleek in their last year, and they made the NCAA tournament, went to a Sweet 16 the next year, and won the Big Eight. And totally, if Johnny Orr might have stayed and Tim Floyd didn't come in that year, probably Iowa State isn't where it is today. Because, again, him stepping down that 1 year early makes a difference. And I just think the transition, if you wait too long, because Fran's not going to be here 5 years from now. If he is, I'd be shocked. That transition needs to be done better. We've seen how that transition can hurt the program. We took a step backwards after Tom Davis. I don't care right now. I'm okay with one. Well, we won. We have a winning season this year, we'll have a winning season this year probably. 16-15 right now. I guess I've made 500. But I'm okay with not making the NCAA tournament this year, but I can't be 3-4 years because that's where we can't draw fans. And
wait a minute, you are okay with him not making the NCAA tournament this year and retaining him?
No, but I'm saying at some point, I think he's going to do, but I don't know what they're going to do. I'm very curious what Beth does. I hope one game. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I said if they don't make the NCAA tournament, they should let him go, and I don't know if they will. And so I'm not getting my hopes up. I told you I would love a coaching search. I'd love to come on here in 2 weeks and talk to you about candidates. Already know I've given you a list of candidates and all that.
I would too. I just being honest. I'm ready for that as well. For somebody that grew up watching Fran and, I've tried to approach this from a more objective place in the last 4 years, but I just think I agree with everything you just said, Doug. I think every good thing comes to an end, and I think it's going to be hard. You're in a very difficult position with the contract and with the fan apathy and with apparently maybe with his health. I don't know. It just, to me, you can't fire a guy over his health, by the way, but you're not supposed to. But I just think at some point you got to cut ties.
It just feels like we could go really down the wrong direction here very quickly. And I don't know. A lot of people want him gone. I just want to win basketball games. I mean, that's all. It makes my life more enjoyable. I mean,
look, can you say something positive about today's game?
Yeah.
There's people that are going to be mad that this turned into a whole
No, and that's just it. One game shouldn't make that much difference. People ask if this game changed anything. No. I mean, a couple of wins in the Big Ten tournament will change stuff.
Hey,
but
Are you on Twitter? Or are you only on Facebook?
I only do Facebook. I have bad experience with Twitter with X.
Because I had let's see, let me pull up the name. Jared DeGroot, I believe that's his name, commented after the game, after the win today. He commented with an exclamation mark, "Stop ripping Brock!" I told him, I said, I will be happy to address this on the air. First of all, I don't rip Brock. I've explained that I just don't know that he's I certainly don't think he's a starting Big Ten point guard. He made some big shots today. I also thought Nebraska's 3-point defense was really bad at times.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But one game is not going to change my opinion. 2 games is not going to change my opinion. The sample size, in my opinion, based on what I've seen this year, Doug, is that Brock Harding, 75% of the time in the conference, is not a starting level Big Ten point guard. I don't know that he's a backup level point guard in the Big Ten. Gary, I think you disagree with me on that, but one good performance does not change my opinion of him because I think he's a defensive liability. He can't finish around the rim. So we don't need to continue to. I just wanted to address the comment. One win or one good performance or 2 good performances does not change the macro from my perspective.
And I'll end with this, and thank you for your time. And just it's great to see Coach here. He's just sitting there. I'm like,
they get it all in.
Yeah. Well, Ohio State has everything to lose in this game, and we have nothing to lose. So I really look at it very differently. I think we're going to upset Ohio State just because I think they're going to come in 2-10 because if they know that if they have to win to make the tournament. And if they don't win, I mean, they're like the last 4 out or first 4 in. I don't know, depending on whose bracket you want to look at. And I just think that's been bad for us the last few years. We lost them last year, kind of a reverse. So I'm hoping like the karma takes a 180 or whatever. So, and yeah, if you guys talk a little bit about Ohio State or what Iowa should be trying to do in the Big Ten tournament, I would really appreciate it. Go Hawks, and thank you.
Go Hawks. All right, folks, we have a couple callers, but we're going to let Gary slide. I want to get one final comment from you on this, Gary, because we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this. So Doug brought it up. Hawkeyes will play the Ohio State Buckeyes. By the way, I'm going to stick around, folks. Take your calls. We'll chat more about this game. But Gary, you know a little bit about Ohio State. As I mentioned earlier, Iowa really struggled when they played the Buckeyes on the road earlier this year, got thrashed. That was in the middle of a really rough stretch for Iowa. But as Doug says, sort of opposite scenarios. They faced this team multiple times in the last couple of years in this very tournament in the first game, and they've not had success. What has it been about Buckeye teams that has caused Iowa problems in Big Ten tournament play? And how does Iowa figure out a way to upset the Bucks on Wednesday?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really haven't seen Ohio State play a ton this year. They've had some really great wins, and they've had some ugly losses. Which I guess you could say about a number of the teams in the league. So I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between the 2 teams. I think if Iowa plays well and shoots well, then I think they've got a shot. And that's the beauty of tournaments where get hot and keep playing. So I didn't see the first game where they won easily. Ohio State is very streaky. When they get on a roll, they can light it up. So, keeping them from doing that obviously will be important. But I don't think it's a non-winnable game. I think they've got a shot. They're gonna have to play well, but that's okay. This time of year, you should have to play well in advance.
Ohio State's had some lottery guys. They've had some NBA prospects on some of the teams that have not panned out, and that's right. I think part of the reason why Chris Holtmann. They didn't hold on to him. They performed less than the sum of their parts. Bruce Thornton's probably their best player, but after that, I don't really. I mean, I know the guys' names. I've seen him play, but I think he's going to be important to neutralize. Yeah. I don't know if you can neutralize him, but he's averaging, I think, 18 a game when I looked earlier. So Ohio State Wednesday, approximately 5 p.m. Central Time after the 2:30 Central Time game, about 25 minutes after that game concludes. So we'll have that game on Peacock. Postgame coverage.
And who's opposite the bracket after that?
Illinois.
Illinois would be the next one.
Illinois
is on a bit of a roll right now. Yeah.
Like I say, I don't think this team wins 2 in a row. I think they could win 1. I don't think they win 2 in a row. If they win 2 in a row, then people are going to start getting excited and get behind the team because that would put them. I'll flash this up real quick. This is a look at the official bracket if people
there
missed
you
this
go.
earlier. So this is the official men's bracket. As you see, Iowa taking on Ohio State, and then they'll play Illinois. They're on the same side as Purdue, as Maryland, as Michigan, which I think I would rather be on that side than the side of Michigan State. I would prefer to avoid Michigan State, even though Iowa played them well in the first half the other night. I don't know. Maybe you disagree, Gary. Maryland's been playing well too.
Michigan is really struggling right now. Maryland's kind of my dark horse. They're talented. So yeah, that's going to be a challenge too. But yeah, well, let's get past Ohio State first, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, it's not an easy bracket for sure.
Coach Gary Close, former Hawkeye assistant and Wisconsin assistant. You had
Stanford Cardinal assistant.
Stanford Cardinal assistant. That's right. You were all over the place. So
the guy was talking about not being in the tournament. I think maybe it was Doug. And we got to Stanford. It was kind of we would tell recruits that we were the only undefeated team university in NCAA history in the NCAA tournament. Never lost a game in the NCAA tournament when we were there in the early 80s. And it's because they won it in like 1941 and had never been back since. That's the kind of job we had in front of us.
How was that? So 41, what were they doing in 41? I mean, how did they?
They had a good team. They had, I think, a guy by the name of Hank Lucetti, and they were good. They won the national championship. And, but unfortunately, they never got back again until in the mid 80s after we had left.
How many teams, how many rounds did you have to play? I mean, how many teams got in the field back in the 40s? Do you know?
That was probably, that might have been as little as 24.
Okay.
Maybe 32. So yeah, it was a little easier.
Good stuff. Gary, appreciate you being here. Good day for the Hawks. Hey,
great day for the Hawks.
Extends the season. And whenever you get a win against a rival, spoil a senior day on the road, clinching postseason play, even though it's not the big dance, it is clinching postseason play and keeps them alive. And
they've said it. It's what I feel good for the seniors that they get a chance to play another game, get to play in a tournament. Playing in a tournament is a blast, even if it's short-lived. And I've had some tournaments that were short-lived. It's just you just kind of revitalize. It's a whole new season, and so hopefully they can go there and play well on Wednesday and survive for another day. But I'm happy for the seniors because they busted their tail all year. It hasn't been a lack of effort. It's been sometimes a lack of execution and not staying healthy. But to their credit, they hung together and got a really, really convincing big win, and they get a chance to play again. So I'm happy for them.
Coach, we appreciate you being here. Enjoy the next couple of days. We'll hope to talk to you this week.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Let's move on. We got a couple of callers here who have been waiting on hold. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line? I am not hearing a thing. Try again.
Hello?
We got you now. Yep, we got you now.
Okay. Hi, this is Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Sorry, just started listening, so apologize if you've covered this already. If you have, just tell me to listen to the earlier part of the show, but a couple of comments and a question or two. One good win for the team. Happy for them to enjoy some success in a tough year. Although it's Nebraska, but a win is a win. I guess a couple of my comments. Just been disappointed that Fran hasn't utilized Bronze more last year and this year, given what he's brought this year in such limited action. Sorely needed that earlier in the year when the team was kind of lacking rebound physicality, and he has brought both. Just been really impressed with his hustle, athleticism, and physicality. And then, I was hoping to pose the question to Coach Close, but whether Fran comes back or not, who knows? But what hope is there for better defense if Fran returns?
Yeah, I mean, I apologize for not getting you on here with Coach Close. He's on a bit of a time constraint today, but I think I can speak on behalf of what you've seen and what Iowa fans. I don't know that you can have much hope for the big picture of Iowa defense looking better under Fran. To me, that ship has sailed. It's sort of like, I hate to equate it to this because it's not apples to apples here either, but it's sort of like, what retaining Brian Ferentz. Had they retained Brian Ferentz another year, what would the offense have looked like in one more year under Brian? Could he have gotten a better quarterback in there? Yeah, we got a better quarterback, or we thought he did, and it didn't work then. It got worse. It kept getting worse. So I don't know that Franz is going to keep getting worse because they do bring in some better talent, better athletes here in the upcoming class. But at the same time, freshmen don't play defense all that well in general anyways. And I don't expect Iowa freshmen to play all that great a defense. He's had opportunities to bring in guys that can kind of be defensive specialists as it relates to coaching. He's not done that. So I don't think, and as much as I talked earlier about Fran innovating himself and becoming kind of a man of the people this late in his career, I don't see him doing that. I just think it's just like Kirk. I don't think he has interest in changing who he is this late. I would like to see him make little adjustments, like I'd like to see Kirk make little adjustments, but I don't think the defensive, you're going to have to, Gary's talked about this, you've got to spend time on it. You've got to spend time on it. And Kashina Alexander's talked about, I think she just talked about that yesterday. We were talking about Iowa women's basketball, how much it's changed defensively. It's because they spend more time on it. There's more of an emphasis on it. So Fran's got to make a dedication. It's not just about saying, we got to defend better. They've said that. They have said that. The players have said that. They want to defend better. I believe that. But the bottom line is the players have to be given the time and the structure to develop those fundamentals, to develop that discipline, and actually work on defense. And that's not, I don't believe that's in the cards for a Fran coach team. He's not proven that it is. And I would think by now, with all the struggles in postseason play and 15 years of this, that he would have done it by now.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And for the record, I was done with Fran after the Richmond debacle, but remain a fan. Hopeful year after year that, to your point, there's going to be some mea culpa, some evolution of thinking, some, I don't know, some epiphany is going to occur, and he's going to realize that this, these kind of meaningless stats is what I would call them, of that they talk about every time. I was the leading scoring team in the Big Ten or whatever else. That's dramatically offset by the horrific, 170th, something like that. I think I heard you mention, or someone else mention. I mean, just whatever it is, it's bad. It's about equivalent to Iowa's passing game in football. And, I'd love to get excited about the incoming recruits and believe that there's a corner that can be turned, but I just don't see it, because I don't know that I think there's a talent, athleticism deficit. I don't think it's maybe that it's that big of a gap, but I just think regardless of who we have, defense just is not emphasized, because if it was, I don't think we'd see what we see game after game, year after year. And then I know injuries, et cetera, but look at who their wins are against this year. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they haven't beaten a team that's going to make the NCAA tournament. I don't think they've beaten a team that's going to make the Big Ten tournament other than Northwestern. I think that's, Rutgers, sorry. So that was a stretch, but they haven't beaten a team that's going to make the NCAA tournament. I believe that's accurate.
Yeah, so they're not an NCAA tournament team. We can all agree on that. And so then the question becomes, is 2 years not making the tournament, is that enough to make a change? But it's not just about that, right? As you articulated, we're a decade and a half into a tenure. We have a guy in his 60s whose kids have all moved on. He is not the same person on the sidelines as he used to be. Does that mean he's got a health problem? It doesn't mean he's lost his fire. I don't think that's the case. I don't know, but it's hard to speculate on health. And then you look at the contract that was brought up earlier. You got to keep extending people to enable them as it relates to recruitment. And he's extended through 28, but you can't just sit on that. So, and you've got incredible fan apathy. And it appears to me a disinterest from Fran to do much about that other than just keep putting your head down and going. Status quo. It sort of seems like Kirk's approach to the Iowa football offense. The difference, though, as you know, the difference is Kirk has never failed to put fans' butts in seats. That's the difference. And fans come back. Listen, that offense was horrid. You compare the Iowa defense, Iowa men's basketball defense, to the Iowa football offense. As horrid as Iowa football's offense has been, and you can blame it on the West or the fact that their defense was that good to offset it. They won games. They didn't have success in postseason play, but they won games, and fans kept showing up, and they'll keep showing up. It's going to take a lot more to run off to instill some level of apathy with Iowa football in the people that matter than it has been with Iowa men's basketball. That's the difference, and that's why I think there's so much working in favor of a change right now.
Yeah, I concur, and I'll want one more comment, and then I'll question. I'll drop off. But before both, I appreciate you and Coach Close and your team, Coach Close and Kashin and everybody who calls in and chat. I certainly enjoy it. So I want to say thank you for that. While I was on hold, I was reflecting. What's there to get excited about next year? Certainly, Price Sanford. If Owen Freeman returns, hopefully he does. Harding, there are some pieces. Traore, I don't know. The guy's literally a roller coaster. But regardless, how does Fran solve the age-old problem of point guard play? I think he's got to go in the portal. He's got to go in the portal, make a splash. Stelwell was nice. I wish he wouldn't have gotten hurt, but I still think Iowa's that at least a point guard away. Obviously some other pieces, some development of returning guys, but just what are your thoughts on that? I mean, what do you see as returning as far as being reasons for optimism, and what do you think are, portal needs or major guys taking strides needs for next year? And I'll hang up and listen.
So real quick, you're talking about assuming Fran is back.
Oh, correct. Well, yeah, fair point. Yeah, I mean, if not, then we're probably dealing with
rebuild.
Complete rebuild, which I don't know if that's the worst thing. I think you said it a couple shows ago after the last really gut-wrenching loss, which there's been too many to count this year, where if we lose guys due to a coaching change, so be it, because I think we see how quickly teams can rebuild. We can look at Ames as proof positive of how quickly you can rebuild through the portal and a different philosophy of recruiting.
I appreciate your call, sir, and I'll answer that question here in a second, but appreciate you making the time to call in.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, in answer to his question, if Fran's back, and I think that's a big if, I do, but if he's back, the question remains: what happens with Owen? What happens with Josh Dix? What happens with Brock Harding? There have been portal rumors with each and every one of those guys. I'm not a big Brock Harding guy. I've admitted that. Now he can prove me wrong. I hope he does. Right? He's played well the last couple of games, and under a new coach, maybe that's a different story as it relates to being able to maybe develop into a decent Big Ten defensive player, and that's going to be the difference. If he can defend at a decently high level, like Fred Hoiberg's son is a good example. Sam Hoiberg, I mentioned earlier that he really struggled, and it's hard not to think, would he be on scholarship at Nebraska? I haven't watched a ton of Nebraska basketball this year, but you're watching the game, you're like, boy, this kid be on scholarship if he wasn't Fred's son. But he does defend. So, Aaron Kraft's another example of a guy who played at Ohio State, wasn't very athletic, wasn't real big. He was a gritty player, and especially defensively, people hated him. Now, I'm not advocating for someone like Brock to become a dirty player, but I don't know that he, under Fran McCaffrey, is going to turn into an Aaron Kraft style point guard. But to me, I've got to see more to have any faith in him being a Big Ten starting point guard, regardless of head coach. I do think they have to go to the portal for point guard. Drew Thelwell was a phenomenal pickup. The problem is they got him for 1 year. He did get hurt, and you pair that with the team struggles. But I think he was one of their 2 to 3 best players during a good portion of the season. And I'm talking right up there with Josh Dix and Owen Freeman. But then he got hurt, and I mean, and I know that seems disrespectful to Peyton Sandfort, but to me, you look at a good portion of the season, you knew what you were going to get out of Drew Thelwell, out of Josh Dix, and mostly what you're going to get out of Owen Freeman. Now, he's got holes as well to figure out defensively, on the glass, etc. But yeah, I think they have to go to the portal to figure out a way to, and they were able to find a diamond in the rough in Drew. I mean, talk about an experienced veteran who knows how to win, was a good athlete, one of their best perimeter defenders, probably their best perimeter defender, and could score. He's shooting like 43% from three this year. That is nuts. That is nuts. So imagine where they'd be without him. He's been the starting point guard. Say what you want about Brock coming on late. Drew is still the starting point guard for a reason. Didn't do a ton today, but again, he's not been the same since that ankle injury. So I think they'll go to the portal if Fran's back. If Fran's not back, they're going to have to go to the portal for a lot of spots. So that's the reality. And, you don't know what's going to happen with future classes. If Fran hangs it up, and I don't think he's going to walk away on his own volition, but if Fran were to leave and not take another job somewhere, and I don't think he would, but again, I don't have connections. I'll admit I don't have a phone line to Fran's household to ask those questions. And I don't know that he shared that with anybody other than the people closest to him. But what happens with some of these recruits that have committed to the program for 26, guys like Johnson Arrigu, who's transferred in from Miami, who's sitting out. He's a good prospect, but you could go from having 13 scholarship players to having 5 pretty fast if a coach leaves or is fired. So that's just the reality of college basketball. But it is not as difficult or as long of a haul to rebuild when that happens. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's add in our guy Kyle Spence of Kyle Spence Golf. Kyle, how you doing, sir?
Good. It was. I don't know how you're feeling after watching that, but it was good to at least have a positive day. I think kind of watching this team had kind of beat the piss out of us for a while, so it was nice to kind of have a game where at least take the circumstances out of it. You could at least watch a victory.
Yeah, absolutely. How you feeling about Wednesday? How you feeling about Iowa, Ohio State Wednesday?
I mean, not great. I don't think it's impossible that they win, and I actually don't think it's impossible that they beat Illinois. I think that's the absolute furthest that they get, and that's not. I'm not saying anything about Iowa necessarily in that game, but I watch a little bit of Illinois basketball because I have a good friend, as you know, that is a big Illinois basketball fan, and they're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country. They have games where they go super, super cold and just kind of give away games. So. I mean, I think they could get through 2 games at the absolute most.
Real quick, I said earlier that they had gotten blown out by Ohio State. They also got blown out at Illinois. Now, this is a neutral court to some extent, but there ain't going to be a lot of Hawkeye fans there. Yeah. So I agree with you. I said it earlier. I don't think they win 2 games in a row with that draw. If they did, then people are going to start talking about this team. Could they get to Sunday and get into the field? That's what they're going to do because that's how people are. They're knee-jerk, right? What have you done for me? Hey, and if they do that, that means they have won 3 straight games, 1 road game, and then 2 against good teams on a neutral court. But I don't expect that to happen.
No,
if you were to ask me, who do I think wins Wednesday? I think Ohio State wins Wednesday, but would not discount it. And believe me, I'll be invested as any these next couple of games, or hopefully a couple of games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think certainly gotten a little bit of flack from people the last week or 2. I think you have, and I have both of being too hard on them. Like, just to be clear, like when they go to Indianapolis to play Ohio State, like I'm going to be rooting for them. You're going to be rooting for them. Like we're not, they're not going to go to that tournament and have fans rooting for them to lose. But like, yeah. It's just,
I love it when the people rip me on social media for hating the Iowa men's basketball program. Corey hates the program. I just hate him.
I know.
Yeah,
and it's so ridiculous too, because it's like, number one, not watching coverage of any other sports, because like we went on post game for the women and praised the women up and down. We praised Jan Jensen, Sydney Falter, all these players and coaches that are doing such a great job to turn their season around from those 5 straight losses. And then we go to a different sport and have a negative opinion because the results are negative. And then you're not objective. You're just a hater. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But yeah, no, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'll still watch. I'll still root for them. What I mean, what it and I this is
Real
interesting.
quick, hold on, time out.
Yeah.
This is hilarious, but I'm just taking this for what it is. Brock Indvelt says Owen rented his apartment from my dad, and he has renewed his lease. So now there is such a thing as subleasing, right? So you could sublease. Yes. I can't believe I'm even talking about this, but yeah, if he renewed his lease from your dad, Brock, he could always move out, sublease, or maybe I get the idea that family's probably not hard up for cash. So if a change was necessary, also the question by Ken Z says, what is Owen's NIL value? It may be substantial, so where it doesn't matter what his rent that he's giving up would be, right? So if he's got a lease to pay off, and he probably get a subleaser, but I can't believe we're addressing this. But I just thought I would because it was an interesting comment. So
to be clear, everyone, the reason that comment came up is because Corey is such a hater of Iowa basketball that he's been completely outcast from getting any news. So we rely on your comments now for intel.
Yeah,
is
we do.
Is that
this is the news sticker. Live chat has become my news sticker. All right, we got to get to our phone line because we got a couple of people who have been on hold here for quite some time. We'll go to our next caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
This is Jake with in Mobile, Alabama. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I had a basketball question for you. You know, this year we kind of barely making the tournament and kind of our season being all but over, not to be a pessimist. Beat both Nebraska and Ohio State to end their season and their tournament hopes. Would that kind of end the season and even kind of soften?
I know you're cutting out a little bit there, but soften the disappointment throughout conference season. Thank you for the call there. Kyle, how much does it soften if they somehow have success in conference tournament play? Does that somehow lessen the blow of what has been an incredibly disappointing regular season, assuming they don't win the Big Ten tournament and then exit into the sunset of the NCAA tournament, where now we're playing for more? I mean, I don't. To me, that doesn't. Either you make the tournament or you don't. It would be nice to make a run, but then if they end up one game short of March Madness, I think we're back to square one to some extent. I don't think it changes the big picture.
No.
You hear that question, by the way, or just cutting out on my end?
No, it was cutting out on mine too. I mean, I think to me, it's always like, this is just evaluating anything sports related. Like I always go back to, okay, what were the expectations at the beginning of the year and where they met? Like there's no way for them to realistically alter preseason expectations, you know, to achieve some of the goals that they had preseason just by doing well in this tournament. It's far too late to overcome that. So for me, like you said, unless they win and they go to the NCAA tournament, which is, I would put about a 1 in a million chance on that. They can't do anything to make up for what's already been done.
All right, let's go to our next caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, bitch, I'm so.
What? But did you hear anything?
I heard cursing. That's all I heard.
I was waiting for the moron to show up, so I had quick trigger. So he said more, but we didn't get it in because I cut him off. So.
I got like one word. That's all. That's all I got.
The idiots are alive. It's Sunday. Listen, when the sun comes out and it gets warm, the idiots come out of hibernation. So we're back. We're back, folks. We are back. Tony, I'm going to bring you into Kyle's.
We're back. We're back, baby. Moron. We're back.
Hey, I'm going to bring you right back. We're going to get James in here, and I'll bring you back to the conversation with Cox. I know you want to talk to him. So thank you, Tony. All right, let's add James to the mix. James, appreciate you calling in.
Hey, what's up? How are you guys doing? First off, you're talking about like, next year, and let's just hypothetically say everybody's back. Hypothetically, right? We're gonna speak on this part. Another thing you need is a backup center because you lose Bronze, and obviously Mobley hasn't played a lot, right? So hypothetically, if everybody's back, you definitely need a backup center because I feel like I don't want Laji playing the backup five in a hypothetical world.
Well, he played the backup five. That's I think the biggest question right now is why was he playing the backup five if they had Evan Bronze on the bench? But we're not there in practice every day. Did Bronze just come alive as the season went on? Did he become more comfortable since he had the reins, feel less pressure, so he played better? I don't know, but I agree they need someone else. I don't know that Lodge's sticking around regardless of what happens, because I just don't. But hey, can I just give a big shout out to Lodge for a second, because we've been hard on him at times this year. He has really improved as it relates to rebounding. He really does hustle. He boxes out. His effort is high. And I thought earlier this year, Kyle, I thought he was slow. I thought he was lazy at times.
Very sluggish, yeah.
Objective opinion. But to me, he is banging down there. And sometimes they're both about the same height. Without seeing the numbers, I can't tell, is that Seydu or is that Lodge? That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Seydu's a much better athlete. But so I give credit to Lodge for that. But his offensive game is just next to non-existent. But we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just interesting, intriguing. Obviously, I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State, but them getting in there for what they had to go through is big. And obviously, beating Nebraska out of any team to beat to get in there makes it even more sweet. You know, if you could give me any team to choose to get in there, I would choose Nebraska to beat to get in there, just because I hate Nebraska more than anybody else. But that's just me being an Iowa fan. But it's good to get the win, and it's going to be tough, like you said, because I truly don't think they'll buy him out, so I think he has to leave. I just don't see them buying him out. Not that I don't think they should. I think they should, but I don't see them paying the $7 million to buy him out if he doesn't choose to leave.
Kyle? I mean, buyouts are part of this business. You can't, you either got to buy him out or you got to extend him.
I mean,
right?
this is... Yeah. Well, okay, so this is the way I think about it. So number one, to my knowledge, and Corey, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's 60% of the remaining money, so it's not the full $7 million. It's like 4 point.
No, it's 7.8 to buy him out. They said if I seen somewhere on the thing where it's 7.8 million to buy him out.
Tony's saying it's 4 point
is
something.
it?
I think I heard 4.6 or something like that. 4.6, 4.2.
It's his 7 per year.
Tony's saying 4.2. Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are. The only thing I've heard is it's 60%. Yeah, let's.
It's monthly. It's a monthly prorated buyout.
Okay.
So I still don't know if they pay for it. I mean, they should, but I just don't know what I was gonna be like. I think
well, okay. So James, let's think about this. Okay, so this, like, if you say, and this is not like, I'm not saying this is the exact numbers. I'm just kind of projecting here. If we were to guess and say, okay, the person that comes in, say they were able to bring enough excitement in that they add 1,000 attendance, 1,000 more fans per game, right? At $25 a ticket on average, something like that. And that wouldn't be a super huge increase, right? Because I don't know what their average is now, but like the last probably 10, 15 games, they're at 9,000, 8,000, 9,000. And those are not even like, those numbers are higher than they should be, because they're including, like I've told Corey, they include all the season ticket purchases in that. So they assume 100% attendance rate for season tickets. So say they're able to increase attendance to 12,000, something like that, at $25 a game. Like in 2 years, the buyouts paid just with an increase in attendance and food and merchandise that's purchased at the game, right? So
yeah.
Like, it seems like a big number, right? But the attendance is so bad right now. There's so much upside in terms of increasing attendance that if they can pay 4.2 over three years, right?
Yeah.
That's not a big financial burden for the university if they increase the attendance. Now, if they bring in somebody and the whole program belly flops and the attendance goes down, then you got a problem. But if they're able to bring somebody in that they think is exciting, that can increase attendance, it's not that big of a financial burden.
Yeah, see, that's more the part I'm worried about. Not that I think you should get about it, but I'm afraid of like maybe not even Beth, but the people above Beth who make more of the money decisions be like, yeah, we don't know if we want to spend 4.2 right now because we don't know what the future is going to look like if we bring somebody else in, right? That could be how they look at it too, where they're like, we don't know if we're going to get that money back, you know what I mean, quick enough where we need to get it back.
Yeah,
and that's
I mean,
kind of my point, but
it's not a guarantee. But again, like, from an athletic director's perspective, like, if you believe in your hiring ability, you should take that risk. Like, if you're not getting rid of him, to me, that's just telling you you don't think you're going to get somebody that's going to provide that kind of increase in revenue, right? If you believe in your hiring ability, you should do that.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. It's going to be interesting to see how it works out. And obviously, It's not the way anybody wanted this season to go, and it sucks in the fact of you see Iowa State with all the success, and then you see us not with as much success, and it's just like, they did the way they went to portal. They got a coach who's gonna fit them and be there for a while, and we're the ones out here with the coach who's been here for a while and haven't made a Sweet 16. It's a little bit of a struggle. It's like maybe we want kind of some success too, and it's just like we haven't got that. But it'll be interesting to see, and obviously maybe we're rooting for them no matter what against Ohio State, and if they can win, who knows? Obviously, but they're not in no matter what because I don't see them winning the next game. I don't think for sure, but you never know how basketball goes. You can win any game in basketball, but without their defense, with how they play defense, they also can lose a lot of games that they shouldn't lose because they don't play defense. So at the end of the day, whether they should win or lose, it's just that's how it is. So
James, they don't. Wait a minute. They don't play defense.
you know this already. You already talked about it earlier, so you know this.
Giving you a hard time.
What's
No.
okay? I want to get your thoughts, James, and Corey. You can chime in here too, because we DM'd about this back and forth. What, like, regardless of the opponent, right? Does Iowa have any direct path to win a game? Like, you look at teams in the NBA, you look at teams in college basketball, like, the rosters are constructed in such a way that they usually have direct ways to win. Like, they have offensive sets that they can run, certain shots they're looking for, certain ways that they play defense, and it's different for every team. Like, I don't look at this team, then this is why we've had such trouble saying they can even win one or two Big Ten tournament games, because they don't have an identity. They don't have like a way that you can go into a game and say, if we do this, we have a really good shot at winning. If we execute this particular
No, they have an identity. They just got to shoot
shot
you out the gym. That's their identity. You just shoot you out the gym. If they make shots, if they make threes, they're going to win any game they can. That's their identity.
Well, no, James, you and I both know that's not true.
Well, yeah.
If they make threes, they have a chance to win. If they don't make threes,
exactly. Yes, this is the point. Yeah,
I think that's the way Fran looks at it, though. I'm more looking at the way Fran looks at it. And I'm not saying that's right, but I think it's the way Fran looks at it as like, oh, well, if we're hitting shots, we should win. Now, obviously, that's how games goes, basketball games. You're not going to win all the way. But I think that's kind of the way they look at it.
Because hit shots on the road as a even decent to good defensive team, you're going to win usually.
Yeah, no, for sure.
At Iowa, if you make shots on the road, you might win.
You're in the game. Exactly.
Because you're
right.
You can score 90, but still give up 100 plus
you're
because
going
they've
to
done
shoot
it before.
your way out every single time.
Right.
Now, the Iowa women this year, perfect example. They're going to go on the road, and if they shoot well, they'll definitely win. They're definitely going to win.
Yeah, it's the margin, right? Because take an extreme example. Okay, if you think about Golden State Warriors when they were really good, right? They're running Clay and Steph off of screens. They're running around off ball, having people chase them all game, right? If those two get hot, or one of the two of them get hot, they will win. They have that margin of error, right? If they do that thing that they're really good at, they will win. With Iowa, it's like they do that thing, but all it does is give them a chance to win. It doesn't they don't have a path of Owen Freeman can dominate the game down low, and that's how we'll win, right? He'll have a game,
That's this team. They have had teams like when they had Garza, that's
what I'm saying. This team is different. Like the Garza teams had clear paths to victory, right? The path to victory with Garza was dominate down low, open up spacing on the floor for the shooters because of Garza dragging three guys into the paint. That was the path, right?
It's always come down to offense. But Luka Garza, that team, and I'm talking about the team coming out of COVID. That team with Bohannon and Frederick and Wieskamp, along with Garza and Kriener. I'm not going to mention Macy Daly, but he was on that team too. Those players
shoot that well.
That team, Connor McCaffrey, that team should have had more success in March. I think we can all agree on that. And I know Tony's got a theory. Tony, you really are resentful about Oregon getting that time off. I get it. But the reality is that they should have had more success with that team. It was a wasted, talented group. You had a legend in Jordan Bohannon with a literal, maybe the best player in Iowa history in Luka Garza, along with an all Big Ten, future first team all Big Ten player in Joe Wieskamp, and a phenomenal
really shooters. Yeah.
Dude, how do I
one of the best shooters in Iowa history in J-Bo too.
All of my stuff back here.
Well, you don't. Your mess, your total disorganization is going to be highlighted right now. Okay.
That's fine. Go ahead and continue. I'm sorry.
All right. Thanks, Tony.
No, but Kyle, 100% right. They don't have a clear way to win games, and that's why it makes it so frustrating. I think too. It's like you watch, and I'm just using Iowa State for example because I've watched more Iowa State than most Iowa State than more other teams just because they're in the state of Iowa, so I kind of watch them more, right? Like they can play defense and hold teams to a certain amount of points and win games, right? When they're not making shots because they're a really good defensive team, right? I mean, obviously we're not even close to that, but I'm saying like they have a path of how they can win games, whether they're making shots or not,
Mhm.
right? Like, and it's
And
just
even
frustrating
within
to see it
that,
that way.
James, by the way, like, and this is the thing for me too, like, because I hear what you're saying, Corey, about the shooting, but like when peel another layer back on that, right? If they make threes, they're in the game. But like, how do they even get open shots? Because like, I mean, tonight they got open shots because I just didn't think Nebraska was, or this afternoon, I didn't think Nebraska was great defensively. I don't think they closed out super well. I don't think they were sticking on guys very well. But there's been a lot of games where like it's not even like, oh, if they hit the shots, like they just can't even get open looks. So that path is just completely
Well, that's
closed
because you
for
don't
them.
have a presence down in the paint, so they don't really have to kind of presence. They go one-on-one Laji, right, in the paint kind of, and then be like, okay, now we can just guard the shooters out there, and we don't have to leave nobody. When it's like he brought up Luka Garza, you have to double Luka Garza.
Yeah.
You have to maybe even
Let's
have help there too, so you can kick it
Exactly.
out.
You got to respect that. Yeah.
Look, and here's another thing. Let's not confuse Owen Freeman for Luka Garza. And
No,
I'm not
and
saying
I'm not doing that at all. But
I
if he's
know,
going,
No, not at all.
with it,
No.
but
But
I'm
you're
just
not-
saying, make something very clear. Owen Freeman's a talented guy. Would he draw a lot of
Yeah.
NIL? Yes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what Luka Garza would draw as it relates to NIL if he was playing his
Oh, my
junior season
goodness.
in Iowa right now?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I bring that up because Owen Freeman has a responsibility in some of their struggles early on in the year as well, because having him help the offense, I don't think it hurt the defense when he left. I actually think Bronze and Mulvey and Laji held their own defensively. I think they were just as good, maybe even a little better than Owen Freeman on the defensive end and inside. It did take away the back to the basket presence that they had with Owen Freeman. However, Gary has talked about this. We did not see some advancement, some big jump with Owen's offensive game from his freshman to his sophomore year. He can't finish with his left hand. He's very much in a sense like what Hannah Stolke was and is in her junior year. Hannah Stolke doesn't have moves in the post. I love her. She can run she runs great. She finishes a lot. She makes free throws. Great player, fun to watch, good defender. She doesn't have moves in the post. She goes up the same way every time. And Owen is maybe not that one-dimensional, but as a 5, as a 6'10", 6'11 guy, he's got to be able to finish with his left hand, spin both ways. And especially when you're freshman all Big Ten, freshman of the year in the conference in year 1. So there's my challenge for Owen Freeman heading into year 3. If they really, if Fran's back or he's somehow, the next coach somehow retains Owen Freeman next year, there has to be a challenge to Owen Freeman. Look, you got to get healthy, but we have to have you develop your ability to go with the left and add more tools to the arsenal. I keep hearing about how he's worked with Luka Garza. Well, I'm not seeing
which
that.
by the way, Corey, is what separates people like him from people like Luka Garza. Because what did Luka Garza do after his sophomore season? He developed a 3-point shot and he developed his post footwork that was not there his freshman season. Like him and his dad, and I don't know how much of this was him and his dad, probably a lot of it, or how much was him and Fran, but like there were big jumps year to year to year. Even like between his junior year and his senior year, his 3-point shooting was incredible his senior year, especially coming out of the gate. Like he was a different player. Every year he came back, he added something to his toolbox. And that's like, if you're going to be a great player, that's what you have to do.
James, anything else?
No, I agree with you guys. And obviously, if you watch Luka, you see his dad posted a lot of stuff of like him working hard, and like you see how hard he works. I mean, you don't see that obviously because his dad, and I don't know when his dad like that, but his dad's obviously not like Frank, right? Where Frank was all the way out there on social media. You know, Frank was posting a lot of stuff on social media, so you've seen all what Luka was working on, how hard Luka was working, right? And obviously Owen doesn't do that, but like in that aspect, you've seen the hard work from Luka, and you've seen the effort, and you've seen it grow to what it is as an NBA, like him being an NBA, right? So you know that you just don't see that from him, and sometimes you get frustrated, but you also don't know what's gonna happen. But I agree with you guys, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Not even the next game, but also how the coaching situation figures out for next year. But it wasn't the season we wanted, but we can still root the girls on, in March Madness. Hopefully they can make a run again, and with all the young talent they got. So nice talking to you guys, and enjoy your night, and let Tony get back on.
Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, James.
Folks, if you're interested in sponsoring our postseason coverage, whether it be the Iowa men in the Big Ten tournament or the Iowa women's basketball team, as we count down the days to March Madness there, and we'll have some pre-tournament chatter, conversations surrounding March Madness and bracket play. So if you're interested in inquiring about that and sponsorship as we go into off-season and start prepping for spring football and then summer conditioning, fall camp, and 2025 Iowa football, you can reach out to me to inquire. It's free to inquire. Info at from the Hawkeye of the Storm. So very simple. If you've got a business or you work for a business or maybe you own a business that might benefit from exposure to Hawkeye Nation, Hawkeye fans out there, shoot me an email, info at from the Hawkeye of the Storm.com. Jeff in the chat brings up traveling, how it's never called. What are people watching? They don't criticize the absolute joke of traveling never called. The current game is a joke. Well, have you watched the NBA?
It's way worse than the NBA. At least they call it sometimes in college.
Yeah.
It's incredibly bad in the NBA.
RAM says, a lot of people complain about defense. Do we have someone on the coaching staff who specializes in that? I don't believe so. It's not like the women. Sean Sullivan was brought in. Apparently, he's sort of a defensive specialist, but Fran has been given opportunities to do that. And yeah, we could hire a really good defensive assistant coach. This is just like how Kirk could have hired a really good offensive coordinator, but it's his team. So now people, the people who are in love with Kirk and say he can do no wrong and it's his team, he should be able to hire who he wants to hire. That's all fine and dandy, Kyle. But the reality of it is, this is where we were with Kirk a year ago. And Beth upset some people because she then stepped in and said, no, we're done. We're done with this. And Kirk did not, I give Kirk credit. He didn't go down with the ship. He allowed it to happen. I'm sure it was embarrassing to him. This is not the same situation. These aren't Fran's kids. But, and I don't know who you point the blame at, anybody specifically, but the reality is Fran's had opportunities. He's had times where there have been openings on the staff, and he has not went after somebody who is a defensive specialist. So that's a fact. And I don't know that there's time to do that, or if he's in a position to do that, or if Beth is in a position to dictate that to Fran. Does he deserve further opportunity to do that? And then if he refuses to do that, where are we at? Where are we at now? Like that would be my question. So ZJ says, if the Big Ten tournament expanded to all teams, could it be more of a week-long event rather than 5 games in 5 days? Well, how do you do that? I mean, if you have 20 conference games, how do you do that? We go back to 18 conference games. Now that we're expanded to 18 teams, do we go to 18 conference games? I guess that could make sense because then you play everybody.
Well, you play one team twice. Yeah. Because you can't play yourself.
Yeah, right. You play one team twice. I don't know. I mean, maybe could you go to 17 games? Would that be weird to play 17?
Could they do like, I mean, maybe this is stupid, but could they do something like what football did where they said keep like 1 or 2 rivalry games that you would play twice a year, and then just play everybody else once, like have everybody pick like, Yeah,
maybe you just eliminate it and you go to 19 games and you give everybody.
Michigan plays Michigan State and Ohio State every year is there too. And, you just go down the list and try to.
I'll tell you what, if Iowa had that, I would like the Iowa men's basketball team to play Nebraska twice, and I'd like them to play Illinois twice.
Yeah.
Those would be my 2 teams. I don't care about Wisconsin twice. I don't care about Minnesota twice. We get them in football. I'd like to see Nebraska and Illinois twice. So.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We got a couple people. Let's see. I don't think we have anybody on our phone line, but let's go ahead and add, since we're talking, we're chattering. Doug, I promise I won't boot you out this time.
Come on.
I promise I won't boot you out this time. Before we get to your comments,
Doug, Kyle's laughing. What's my name?
What did I call you, Tony?
You called him Doug.
Sorry, Tony.
He's doing Tony. He's doing an hour and 45-minute podcast on a 7 and 12 team, or on a.
But I'd be locked into this.
We haven't even been doing hour and a half long women's shows because.
Hey, I do have a question. Yeah. What do you want me to send? I do want to send you something.
Huh? What? What do you want me to send? I want you to send me $1 million. What are you asking? What do you mean? What do you want me to send? What are you asking?
Well, you said in some of these post-game shows, like if we reached a goal of so many $20 donations or
No, I'm not doing that today. I didn't make a goal. If your heart so desires to donate,
I'll
to the
send
cause,
you. How about this? I'm
You-
gonna meet in the middle of something, and I'll send you $50 right now.
well, I appreciate that at the very least. You're not obligated.
I know
to
I'm
do
not
it,
obligated,
but I do appreciate. I
I ramble.
As
I
you
know
know,
I'm gonna ramble.
I'm always appreciative of your support.
Oh,
So,
I know. And I'm gonna ramble, and we're real human beings here. So.
That's fine. Real quick, can I put in a plug for our people over at RTI because you're wearing
Josh Dix.
you're wearing.
I can't
up,
even find. I have my Peyton
block out
Sanford
that
one.
Block out that cluttered
Dix from the
background.
logo. There we go. Dix.
All right,
Yeah.
block out the cluttered background and let's see.
Dix.
That's the RTI shirt right there. Josh Dix merch. Dix from the logo. I got mine right over here. And it sounds like we may be doing a giveaway or two with RTI here in the near future. So stay tuned for information on that. Shop RTI threads, Owen Freeman, Peyton Sanford, Josh Dix, Zach Lutmer, all those guys, and so much more. RTIthreads.com/NIL. You're supporting a brand that is committed to Iowa athletics and the NIL cause of all of those athletes and more. Again, RTIthreads.com/NIL. Go ahead, Tony. Were you going to say something?
Well, I have the Peyton tumbler, but I can't find it. This is the best I got. Is I'm working on my dad bod. One beer.
Okay, that is not from RTI. It's not. But our RTI Threads player of the game, our RTI Threads player of the game is Price Sanford with 16 points on an efficient 5 of 9 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3. You'll take those numbers. 11 rebounds for Price, 3 assists. His brother's struggling from 3, but Price had a good day from outside. Doug,
they spaced the floor really well, like the spacing with Price and hitting him with the corner threes, like. There was a lot, and it was from multiple people. I wasn't just one person who hit him, like drove the lane, kicked it to the corner, and he's got that corner 3 down when he.
Now, is it wrong of me to say? I want to get your 2 opinions on this because I didn't really get a chance to ask Gary that. But so I was getting ripped on social media first half against Michigan State because I said I don't think Michigan State's playing well. This is as bad as I've seen them play. This was not as bad as I've seen Nebraska play. I've not watched a ton of Nebraska. Latter half of the season, but they've not been playing well. They've been giving up 80 a game the last 15, 16 conference games. To me, as great as it was that Iowa got it done today, Doug, and scored whatever they scored, 80.
He did it again.
82 points. Doug, you look like a Doug. No, I'm sorry, Tony.
You're good, man. You're good, man. You're all good.
Am I right in saying Nebraska's defense was not good today?
Both defenses were awful. And but I'm sitting here looking and I'm like, man, there's a lot of just you make 2 or 3 passes and there's an open look.
Nebraska, Iowa played with effort, but players were not in the right spots. Players were out of position.
Something that I'll say that played to Iowa's advantage is Nebraska retreated and did not challenge to get offensive rebounds. There was a lot of times where there's 3 or 4 guys.
Yep.
I credit to them. They did go to the hoop and get the ball. But there was a lot of times there was 2 or 3 guys there uncontested. And all you saw was Iowa jerseys and Nebraska's heading straight back.
And I don't
want to discredit them. They at least got the ball. And,
one thing that was brought up by Gary. So I don't think Iowa's defense was maybe quite as bad as it had been. It wasn't good today.
No,
but
it wasn't.
Nebraska took bad shots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you take bad shots, and then you're not playing good defense against Iowa. It's like you're just begging. You're not crashing.
I was scared, and I got to pull up the kid's name. It was the Williams kid, right? Williams.
Bryce Williams.
He got into foul trouble early. He looked like he was going to have a game early. He hit 2 threes right away. He was getting in the rhythm.
Gary's the kid that hit 2 threes early.
Or was Gary? Oh, Gary. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I mean, they looked like they were getting a rhythm, and it just didn't happen.
So where is Nebraska in the net? Did you pull that up? I see they're 57th in Ken Palm.
They're around that same thing. Give me 2 or 3 seconds, and I'll have it up for you.
I'm just looking at their Iowa's net ranking currently.
I'll see if it tells me on the NCAA net. Today is what, the 9th? So the 8th. The net has not updated. Sorry.
Net has not, but they were 0 for 14 against quad 1 heading into today. That's
Are you talking about Iowa?
Iowa. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's Kyle,
That's
Kyle,
hard to
listen,
do.
What's your
That-
guess? What's your guess where they were both at?
Tony, I got your name right that time.
Oh no, yeah.
That is science.
Third
that
time's
is
a charm. No, I'm just
That is science experiment level stuff right there.
Yeah.
0 for 14 against Q1. That's incredible. I didn't know that was possible.
Rutgers will probably be a Q1 after today because Rutgers was 77.
Well, they beat.
So they'll move up to 75. What was your guess for Nebraska? Or do you have a guess what they were before today?
What their net ranking is?
Yeah.
I would guess that they are 55.
You don't have a guess, Kyle. I'm sorry. I was going to.
I
I'm
thought
trying to
I
do
would say
two
even
over
lower
now.
than that. Yeah, no higher than 50th or 55th.
57.
57.
57.
Okay.
And Rutgers is 77.
So that will be their one. They're going to have one regular season quad one win unless Rutgers gets up into the top 75.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the net team sheet in a while, so I don't.
But
I'm not
was
trying to
the
fathom.
win at so the win at Rutgers was at home, correct? No,
that was
win
at
at-
Rutgers.
No, I was at Rutgers.
I'm sorry. You're right. The win was at Rutgers. Okay, so yeah, top 75.
So that one will be a quad one win.
I
They're
feel like
77.
there's always going to be people that don't understand how the quad one stuff works.
Oh my! And the worst part about it is I've even tried to figure this out, and I don't know how I can figure this out. Is the women's is different. The women's have different thresholds. It's not the same thresholds as the men.
Is it
The
are there
women-
less teams and like there's like
No,
less
it's
teams
the same
individually?
amount of teams. It's like they do the like I can memorize and I can tell you off the top of my head what the men's thresholds are, but the women's.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
have
so
no
for
idea.
people that don't know, for the men's game, top 30
At home.
at home,
Yep.
top
Yeah.
50 neutral, top
Yep.
75 road.
Yep. That's it.
And it depends on where the team ends up.
Yep.
At the end of the season in the net rankings is what matters to the committee. It doesn't
Correct.
matter.
Not,
whether
yeah, it's
they're
not
gonna
where
be-
they were at the moment. Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Where is this? I was trying to find Iowa's. Iowa's is 60. Where are they? 69. So they have Nebraska after today. Yep, that's their one quad one win. Now,
Yeah.
home to Indiana is 52. 31 is the cutoff. Neutral site game we went to Utah, Sioux Falls. That was
Those don't
67.
Those don't have any chance of moving into
No.
the top.
I'm just saying they've got Rutgers is the closest at 77. It's just got to be top 75.
What's
And
their record in quad two?
In quad two,
Yeah.
One
they
loss.
are
One loss.
Zero.
What are you talking about?
They have 0 losses in quad two.
I'm sorry, but you're incorrect.
No, I'm looking at it right now, Corey.
Quad 2, I'm sorry, they have a loss in quad 3. My bad.
Yes.
They got a Q3 loss, Kyle.
Yes.
I'm
So
sorry.
they're perfect in quad two. They're not perfect
Correct.
in quad three.
Yeah, I'm
Quad
so,
3, they are 1-2-1. And it's the Minnesota one.
that loss at home
Yeah.
against Minnesota,
And you know the thing
That
is,
killed
is
the whole season.
yeah,
killed
that
everything.
did. That killed the momentum of everything. Like, because they had a clean resume. They still have, if you take out the Minnesota game, they have a clean resume. Q2 through 4, they have no bad losses.
That would have put them 8-12 in conference play.
Yeah.
With that win.
So why do
And
we think
we're-
Rutgers? Real quick, why do we think Rutgers is moving into the top 25?
They beat Minnesota,
Top
Yeah,
75.
they beat, yeah.
Minnesota's horrible.
but they
Minnesota's
beat them.
horrible.
Minnesota's 92. Minnesota's 92 and Rutgers is 77.
So
All that- Go
I'm
ahead.
saying so you think that'll be enough to definitely move them up?
Well, all they got to do is move up 2 spots.
Yeah, but but again, depending on what
I'm
happens,
Well, they could go
talking-
straight
the
back
only reason
down
I'm
if
saying
they
that
lose
is
to USC too.
other teams fall too.
but
It's
does
not
it really?
just.
Does this really
Yeah.
matter? Does this matter?
It does actually.
No.
I mean,
No, it doesn't.
No.
It
well,
doesn't
not
matter.
for Iowa. Not for
No.
Iowa. Now
Yeah.
Iowa. Now
Yeah.
I'm talking about it does if you're talking about real like the whole big picture of college basketball. Yeah, 100%.
Tony,
it does.
how many quad one wins would it take? So Iowa's at 16 to 15 now. How many quad one wins does Iowa need to get to make the tournament?
3.
Hold on, real quick.
Three to be in discussion. If they don't be in discussion at that point. They have to
They're
win the
not
whole
going to
thing.
be in this. Wait a minute. Hold on. Time out.
No, but hold on.
They beat
Their
Ohio
first
State.
game, one of their games might not be quad one in the Big Ten tournament.
Ohio State is Ohio State quad one.
What's Ohio State's rating?
36 right now.
That's
Oh.
neutral. That's top 50.
Top 50, but it could fall.
Okay.
They
No.
just lost. I'm telling you, this quad stuff.
Just let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Assuming Rutgers gets into the top 75
Mhm.
and they've got the win against Nebraska,
Yep.
assuming those are both quad one wins, Ohio State would be a quad one win. Are you telling me that if they
They'll be in
beat
discussion if they beat
they're in
Illinois?
discussion with one win in the Big Ten
Discussion. Discussion. Does that mean be in, Corey? No.
No, wait, what is it? What does it mean?
No, does that mean be in? I said 3, right? Now, what I'm saying with 3 is assuming that Rutgers does not sneak in. Because if Iowa beats Ohio State, Illinois, and Maryland, those are all 3 top 40 teams. Because Maryland is the team they play after Illinois.
What would Rutgers be sneaking into?
I'm sorry. Ohio Rutgers is 77. Hold on, Rutgers is 77. If they get to 75,
I said I'm working under the assumption, Tony,
okay.
that Nebraska, Rutgers, and Ohio State
Okay.
are all quad one wins. That's what I'm saying.
Then I'd say after the Ohio State game, 2 more. So you need Illinois and Maryland just to get in the discussion.
You said you meant 3 more. I thought you meant 3 total.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. I
English is not my first language. I apologize.
Kyle, did you understand it to mean 3 total?
Yeah, I got what.
But I didn't know. I meant counting Rutgers as not one of them because currently Rutgers is not.
So only 2 more if Rutgers gets in. If Rutgers gets in top
No
7,
way.
No,
3
more.
way. Yeah.
See,
Yeah. I don't even think they get in with Ohio State, Illinois, and Maryland.
You don't think? No, I'm saying discussion at that point.
Like, what do we mean by discussion? Like, do we
That
mean
they're very
the
close
last
on the
4?
bubble.
You think they're the last 4 out?
Yeah, last 4 to last 8.
if they beat Illinois,
Oh.
if they beat Ohio State and Illinois, they're in the last.
And Maryland is what Kyle said.
And
Well, they
Maryland.
got to beat Maryland too.
Yes.
Well, that's 3 in a row, Kyle.
Yeah.
Hi.
Aye.
Anyways,
No.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
no,
I'm saying 3. Like we misinterpreted what each person was
Sure.
saying.
Yeah.
We misinterpreted what I was
I
saying.
mean,
meant
if
3
they're going
more.
to get that close with 3 wins, then they should be going into this tournament. Think like the mindset
They
should
gotta-
be different. Like,
Yep, they got to win the whole thing. They got to win the whole thing.
yeah, okay.
Now, I'll say 1 win gets them kind of comfortable, like 60-40 for the crown. If they win the Illinois game, they're in that crown
do
tournament.
we really care about that? I'm just curious. I know you.
Do I care because I want to watch more Iowa basketball? Yes. But does most people? Probably no.
Should they care?
Should they care as a team? Yes.
Okay.
Because they want to play. Like,
Yeah,
are you telling me? Are you telling me you want to? Are you? You got to go. Go down to mom.
I don't think she likes what you're saying, Tony. I mean,
No.
yeah,
If you want to tell me you're going to go in that locker room and tell Drew Thelwell and Peyton Sanford, do we not care to play more games?
no, I'm not asking.
I
if they care.
I know.
I'm asking if they care. I'm saying, do we really care?
I do, but the general fan doesn't.
I mean, you care enough to where, or like, if they lose in the NIT, or it was when they lost to Utah in the NIT last year, was your night ruined that night?
Maybe for an hour.
Okay.
I'll be honest. Maybe for an
Oh,
hour.
no, that's fine. I
That's
just,
it.
Yeah,
hour
I
more
got
than
my
most
revenge.
people.
I got
That's
my
impressive.
revenge in Sioux Falls.
you get what?
My revenge in Sioux Falls. They played.
Yeah, against the hey, listen, Tony, against a Utah team that's now 67th in the net.
Yeah, but they had some pretty good. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people poo pooing on that game, and I'll say that.
What's going on with their head coach getting fired?
Utah has a lot higher expectations than some people think. BYU is probably the best college basketball team in the state of Utah. Utah State is maybe second, and Utah's a distant third. I mean, BYU looks really good in the Big 12. They're what? They're fourth. They just
That
went
sounds like
into
Iowa
Hilton.
right now.
BYU just went into Hilton.
BYU,
Iowa State. BYU's really good. Utah State. You saw Utah State in person.
I saw
Kansas
one
City.
of the. Listen, I watched the end. So a double overtime, right?
Yep.
I saw that. What's his face? Big athletic dude for BYU. I saw him make one of the most impressive plays I've ever seen from a college basketball player, and I mean that. Like one of the most. He made a LeBron James-esque run down on a fast break block, like from out of nowhere, and they upset the Cyclones in double OT.
And think about this. I want to say the kid's name is Dykstra. BYU's paying a kid like $5 million to come to him next year.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but
I don't either. I'm just reporting, what I know. Like BYU is going to be very competitive in the Big 12, and Utah State is very competitive in the Mountain West. Utah is a distant third in that state. I don't think there's another school in Utah I'm missing.
How much do you think Owen Freeman or Josh Dix is worth in the portal, just as a guess?
You heard what our total payroll was this year, right?
No, what was it?
1.5.
1.5. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that shock?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's horrible.
Wow. Is all you got to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would guess Josh Dix is worth something close to that, like almost by
Same
himself,
with Owen.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the total team roster.
Ooh.
I just want to show you real quick. This is because I'm having a good
bad,
time.
Kyle.
Take a look.
It's really bad.
Take a look at this block from is it Kiba? This kid for BYU. Keep in mind this is overtime.
Now also think of this. Look at the score and time too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Iowa State turns BYU over with 1 on the shot clock in overtime, and they're about to come down the court and make it a 1-point game. And look at this guy right in the middle. See, he's in the paint right on the Roman numeral
sleeve, the white sleeve.
Yeah, looks like it's over. This play is over. And watch this. Watch this play. I mean, that's nuts. In that moment,
without fouling too.
Yep, exactly. And the officials didn't call it. Like that's at Hilton. Like any type of millimeter contact on his arm, he's going to call it.
It was a clean.
It was clean. No, 100% clean.
That's a LeBron James-esque dunk.
Absolutely.
Stuff you see
can I answer a question in the chat?
Sure.
T. Hank, I watched that today. BYU has a special circumstance with their bracketing and setup that they cannot play on Sundays. That is already known by the NCAA, and they fit that into their criteria of where they put them. They have to play Thursday, Saturday on both pods, and that's both pods, not just the first and second round, but that's also Sweet 16 and Elite 8 pods in case they make it to that. Because they can't just say, okay, we'll play you Thursday, Saturday, then, oh, you won and we didn't expect you to. Sorry, you got to play Friday, Sunday. They cannot play Sunday. That's a BYU thing.
It's not great for my sport, Corey.
yeah.
He can't do a whole lot in golf if he can't play on Sunday.
Yeah, that's true. How are you going to wear your red? Your Tiger Woods, is it red?
Yeah, that's right. Can't wear it. Can't play Augusta on Sundays.
So REM says they could have used you, Tony, because
I think they're not talking about me.
Oh, different Tony? It must be talking about Tony Perkins. Okay. Yeah. All right. Anything else, Tony? You got something else?
So to get back to that NIL thing, like 1.5 is what I've heard from multiple sources, what we're at for the total team. 2.5 is what it sounds like we're going to be at, added with revenue sharing, so 4 total. So 2.5 and 1.5 is 4 total. To be competitive, we need to be in that $7 to $8 million range. So for Iowa men's basketball to be competitive, they need to increase their NIL by at least 200%. Chad Leistow wrote a great article on this, Des Moines Register, that showed like Iowa's bottom, if not bottom, of the Big Ten, like bottom third / bottom of the Big Ten. Like one of his sources said Iowa is the bottom of the Big Ten. Another said they were like bottom third, bottom fourth of the Big Ten. And they need to now, is that a Fran issue? Is that a whatever you want to say issue? Fran has probably a lot of shoulder to blame there. but how much do you think?
I mean, if
you
it's
think
not Fran, what is it? Because it's not a university thing, obviously.
No,
because
no.
football doesn't have that constraint as much.
And I don't want people to
Right?
say it's just a football school because it hasn't always been a football school.
No. Did you? I'll have to send you the screenshot. The Swarm came out with their like breakdown of the general donations. Did either of you see that?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
It was like a day or two ago.
Huh.
Men's basketball got like 11% of the general like fan donations. Women's basketball was 15, and football was only like 68.
Only?
I say only 68 because the split is 80-10-10.
What do you mean the split is 80-10-10?
If you do a general donation to the Swarm right now, the NIL, it goes 80-10-10. 80 football, 10 men's basketball, 10 women's basketball.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And that's based on what? What's the criteria?
That the guy who heads it.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's the guy who heads it decided with 80-10-10, which is fine. That it's his decision.
You don't like that though. You don't like that.
I wish it'd be more in line with 15-15-70, something closer to that. Because if you look at the numbers right now, women's basketball is 15, men's basketball is like 11 something, and football is like 66 or 68 or something.
Also, like this idea, this is just my quick hitter idea. The idea that Iowa football is worth that. I understand that from a perspective of it brings in the revenue, fans show up, but the fans show up regardless of whether they get, I know this is sort of a short-sighted approach to it, but whether they get Seth Anderson out of the portal, Cade McNamara out of the portal, the fans showed up during the Spencer Petras and Deacon Hill games too.
Now one retort I'll say to that is, when do football games happen?
What's that got to do with anything? Tax season?
Well, I'm just no. Like, no, I'm saying like there's more engagement to football because it's a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday morning.
Oh, sure.
How many people are gonna like, dude? I had a grind of a work week on Monday and Tuesday. How many people are gonna show and care about?
It's a 15,000 seat gym.
I get it.
7,
Which I also I could go off on that tangent forever. 15,000 is way too big.
Well, regardless, we could be here all day talking about.
Oh, we could, we could,
because I think that's I think it's bigger than just a Fran problem.
I agree. Now, I agree with a lot of things you said, especially Randy early in the call. Like, Fran does need to engage himself. I'm very lucky that I've just went up to him twice in the 2 times that I could meet him, and
that's not how it needs to be though.
No, that's a one. I know, and I get it. That's a one.
He's good when you do that, but that's. It's my opinion, and I'm sure he does stuff I'm not aware of. But
the coaches versus cancer, he does the coaches versus cancer. The one thing that I don't think has ever been brought up on the show, and I know I've never brought it up, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone else brought it up. Maybe I missed it. Is Fran has endeared the old Iowa basketball traditions. What I mean by that is Chris Street and Kenny Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Alford and Licklider did not endear themselves to the Licklider was, it's the Butler way. This is what I'm going to do. I'm from Butler. We're going to do Butler, blah, 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 blah. Alford was like, I'm an Indiana guy. We need to be like Indiana, Bobby Knight, blah, 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 blah. Since Tom Davis in 99, we have not had anybody embrace the Iowa basketball tradition. And Fran embraced that. He welcomed the streets back. He got Roy Devin Marvel's dad back to a game. Like, his name's escaping me. That's why I'm trying to stall for it. What was Roy Devin? What was his dad's name? The great
Roy.
At Iowa.
Roy.
Yes,
that's why it's escaping me.
I was saying, I don't know what you want me to do.
Roy, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he got him back to a game where it didn't happen in the previous regimes. Like, that's one thing that I think that some people might be missing is there's this small sector of the fan base that loves Fran, and I get it, and I'm part of that. It's because he embraced Iowa basketball tradition.
No, I'm not. Make something very clear. I think he's got great qualities. He's not done everything wrong. He wouldn't make 15 years. You don't make it 15 years somewhere doing everything wrong. That's not my point. But my point is evaluating where we're at 15 years, 16 years.
Oh, I agree.
That's where I'm at.
I
And
agree.
So
and that's why I'm saying, like, before the year I said NCAA tournament or bust. They didn't make it this year. I hold true to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they are not most likely going to make it. Could they win 5 games?
If they make a run to Sunday and lose by a point in the championship game on Sunday, you're going to be.
I still think the decision's made. I really do. I think the decision's made.
Beth, but you're going to be begging for Beth to keep him. If they run to Sunday and lose by one, no,
you can keep my word to it. I won't.
All right. Well, they're not going to do that, but
yeah. Because I mean, think about that. That's beating Ohio State, Illinois, Maryland, and either Michigan / Purdue.
You think they'll get in then? You think they're in with 4 wins in the Big Ten?
I think they're in, but I still think a change needs to be made.
You think they're in the NCAA tournament with 4 wins in the Big Ten?
Very close. Very, very close.
So
very close. The bubble, everyone says it every year. The bubble is weak. Weak this year. You know,
I hear it every year.
But you know, like,
hey, listen, it just means the field's too big. It just means teams is too many.
It needs to be 64, but they're never going back to
64. I don't know why we have to play in Dayton anyways.
Yeah, 68's dumb. I'm sorry. 64 is a perfect everything.
Yep.
But that is what it is.
All right, Tony. Well,
hey, I wanted to, Kyle. I saw you on the pot. Yeah. I have the same little thing too. I saw you.
Yeah, I got it right over here.
Wow, look at that.
They're selling it in Hy-Vee for like $15-20, and I grabbed one.
I think I got mine at Kohl's for like $15-22, so same thing. So
yeah.
Hey, are you gonna do anything? I'm sure you're gonna do like a postseason retrospect show, right?
What, you're already throwing the towel in for postseason play?
Well, I just want to know what you're thinking about that. And coaching search is happening. And now I got to go downstairs. So
yeah, okay. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
And then again, thank you for the support. I will definitely do I mean, here's the thing. I think if they move on from him, Kyle, I think we're going to know that relatively soon after the season's over. I would be really surprised if we have to wait. So yeah, obviously, if they make a change,
if they lose on Wednesday, it would be within hopefully like a week or week and a half, right? Maybe like.
Would it be that quick? I said that at one time. I don't want to put a time limit on it, but I do think it's going to be quick. So yeah, we'll be going live if it's a breaking news day, and if it's at all possible to hit the airwaves live when it happens, we'll definitely do that, and probably have more than one show talking about the search. But we'll see. They've survived. Like Gary said earlier, congratulations to seniors to get another opportunity to play. They'll play Wednesday, 5:00 Central Time. And folks, one more plug. If you have not checked out RTI Threads, be sure you do that because they've been supporting our men's basketball postseason coverage throughout the year. This is the website, rtithreads.com/NIL. You see all these great athletes, including several Hawkeye basketball players, Josh Dix, Owen Freeman, Peyton Sanford, but also football players. And the entire Swarm Baseball partnership here is also featured on the /NIL page. Here's Peyton Sanford's gear. You can customize, get your sizes and colors ordered, stocking caps, hoodies, baseball caps, get ready for spring. We were talking earlier about the tumbler with the laser engraved logo, the customized, unique Peyton Sanford logo. All these player logos exclusive to RTI Threads and their line. So again, just click on the link in the description. It's rtithreads.com/NIL to check out that great website. All right, folks, the Hawkeyes falling. The Hawkeyes.
We're too used to it.
Yeah, it's just like muscle memory at this point. Iowa defeating Nebraska 83-68. Folks, if you're here, please hit the like button. Got about 150 people still here, which pales in comparison to our women's basketball shows. But hey, look at Carver, women's versus men's. So maybe that will change in the near future. We will see. But Wednesday, the Hawkeyes will play the Ohio State Buckeyes for a chance to face off against the 7 seed. That's Illinois on Thursday in the Big Ten tournament from Indianapolis. If you're interested in donating, there are methods you can do that in the description. Also, sponsorships. You can inquire info@from the Hawkeye of the Storm. For Coach Gary Close, Kyle, thank you for being here. I'm Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Have a great couple of days. We'll likely be releasing some segments, video recorded segments. Man, see, I always I usually hit. They always say 3 o'clock feeling, Kyle. I get like a
Yeah.
5 o'clock feeling, then I hit another 7 o'clock feeling.
Because you're up till 12 o'clock at night doing post games all the time. Everything
Yeah,
shifts back a
right.
couple hours.
No, we had lost an hour. We lost the hour last night.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
killed.
11:30 game had to feel losing an hour playing an 11:30 game had to feel horrible for those players.
That was
Had to be awful.
Maybe that's part of the reason. But Iowa traveled and still won. So, folks, we'll be back on Wednesday, live post-game coverage and, of course, Hawkeye coverage around the clock right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Have a great evening.